Hello, welcome to the NextSmartShip E-commerce Online Summit 2021. Greetings from Shenzhen, China to our viewers from all over the world. My name's Ashley from NextSmartShip, your one and only global fulfillment partner for e-commerce brands. I'm so happy and excited to be here with you all, so please make yourselves comfortable, crack open your favorite beverage or snacks or anything else you fancy whenever you are, because today we have an amazing group of experts with us to share their secrets about how e-commerce brands survive and thrive in this post-pandemic era. 20 years ago, it would be unthinkable that an e-commerce business could become so successful even from running your own online store. So for the next few hours of action-packed goodness, we will show you what there is to know about sourcing, crowdfunding, digital marketing, fulfillment services to customs and taxation. And we hope that by the end of today's presentation, you will only need to launch your business online, but also taking it to the next level. So in August, NextSmartShip has officially launched a green packaging solution, so stick around for the chance to win our brilliant prizes. Because for all attendees today, you will receive a gift from us. By using our green packaging solution, you can enjoy a 10% discount throughout October. All you need to do is to send the promo code GREENECOM to our email address sales@nextsmartship.com. Our staff will contact you as soon as possible. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget to leave your comments on the live chat. We'll have a Q&A section for every guest speaker, so please go ahead and share your questions and thoughts. For the last couple of years, have seen a rapid change for e-commerce and most digital-based service providers. So how and why did we get there? What impact does it have when approaching marketing? So without further ado, let me introduce you to our first guest, Daniel Camilo, our Senior Marketing Manager from NextSmartShip. With a decade of experience in digital marketing and e-commerce in China, he will share his unique perspective on international practices and how they apply from different sides of the spectrum. Let's welcome Daniel.
Hi, this is Daniel. Thank you very much, Ashley, for your warm and kind welcome. I hope you're all seeing my screen and the beginning of my presentation. I'm Daniel. I'm the marketing manager here at NextSmartShip. And lucky for you, or maybe not, I'm the first face you'll be seeing here today. What I will be talking about will be mostly theoretical and speculative. Even though I'm a marketing manager, I like to look at things, the broader picture. So I'll try to contextualize what has been happening in the last couple of years, specifically with the start of this unfortunate pandemic that we're all living through. And I'll try to contextualize how that changed landscape, in particular for e-commerce and marketing and our digital world as well, and what we can expect that to do to us and how that will change the world we're living in the near future. So let's begin. Now, really, when we look at the pandemic, we need to really understand what happened during these periods. Now, if you ask me, what really happened is we have accelerated. Our timeline has accelerated. If you look at it from almost like a sci-fi perspective, the timeline that we're living in, that's why I use here this picture that some of you might recognize. The planet, it's actually from one of the old Superman movies from Christopher Reeve, when the Superman spins around the earth to basically to accelerate time or to reverse, to go back in time. Basically, this is what happened with the pandemic. We leaped forward. Now I have some data here just to give you some visual representation of that, how the USA market in particular year over year grew more than 40%, like for e-commerce, just in 2020. So that's verifiable, unlike 2021, which is still going on. And also for other regions and markets, the landscape it's just been growing exponentially. Now, I hope I don't hurt anyone's susceptibilities with these pictures. But again, for context, I think it's important to understand what is happening with the pandemic. Historically speaking, destructive and disruptive events on a mass scale have led mankind to accelerate this technological progress. We've seen that obviously with wars, obviously with other pandemics and other health crises like the Black Plague and the flu, the Spanish flu in the early 20th century. So that's really what I have here. These pictures, it's to kind of give you that visual representation of how these big events really push us forward and really push us to go above and beyond into the cutting edge and really change what we have all around us. So moving a little bit further, what are the consequences of fast and sudden acceleration, like we have seen in the past now, well, 2 years almost, right? What we have seen, first of all, is the normalization, meaning the whole world was affected equally by the pandemic, unless perhaps if you live in Antarctica or in the North Pole, pretty much everybody has been affected by it. Also adaptation, meaning in this case, content providers had to adapt to new and growing demand from consumers, meaning from people. People suddenly are in a new situation and they have different demands. Consumers had to quickly adapt as well to new behavior based on supply and availability, meaning because of the pandemic, suddenly we all realized that we needed things that usually we wouldn't need, and we needed them at a more urgent pace perhaps than before. So based on supply and what's available, consumers changed their behavior. Also familiarization, meaning consumers became more accustomed to buying online and relying on digital platforms for in real life supply. In practical terms, people used to go to the store to buy stuff, to buy their goods, and now more than ever, people are buying online. Of course, retail still exists and it will probably never go away, but definitely we have seen this, again, this very drastic and exponential growth towards the digital, towards the online, and in this case, towards e-commerce, of course. Also, we can talk about unification and standardization, meaning globally service providers accelerated their standard methods of distribution and production of goods to meet this sudden and rising demand from consumers. Also, trust growth, as I have written here, meaning before the pandemic, still a lot of consumers of all ages and all regions around the world were still very skeptic about buying online for many reasons. I mean, they're afraid of being scammed, they don't trust paying methods, they don't trust getting their products delivered in good conditions. But the pandemic kind of forced people's hands into trusting the system. So people, generally speaking, really became more trusty of buying online and using e-commerce services, and basically trusting the digital frontier, which we are now living more and more every day. So let me go to the next one. Now, obviously, I'm in China. I didn't mention that before. I work for NextSmartShip. We are in China. I've been in China for a while. And arguably, I think China did have a starting advantage, let's say, for this pandemic in terms of how it can deal with consumers and how it can handle this new digital landscape we're on. I have some data as well here, and I purposely put data from 2019 showing that about 80% of internet users in China at the time, which was already like 800 million users, depending on sources, were shopping online already. This was already a much higher number than anywhere else in the world. And as you can see as well from that other graphs there I introduced in the presentation. So China really was ahead of the curve. People were already and have been already buying online at a much more higher pace and scale than in any other developed country or otherwise even. So yeah, more than in any market in Europe, more than in the US, more than in Canada, more than in Africa, more than Japan, anywhere really, you name it. So really, arguably, China did have the starting point advantage. That's my point, and that's what I want to bring forward as well. Again, in this thesis of mine to contextualize what has been happening and where we're going as well. So the China advantage. Again, China was ahead of other markets. It was prepared for full digital service infrastructure. Why? Because China was already using apps and services that were highly unified within a very digital spectrum. Apps like WeChat, which I point there at the bottom, services like Alipay, which have their corresponding apps as well, or Alipay, by the way, is mostly known, not only, but mostly for payments online, and also Taobao, which is by all my metrics the biggest e-commerce platform in the world, really. So about this China advantage, what happened is China transitioned arguably from an isolated marketplace in some regards to an influential trendsetter. So meaning a lot of these apps I just described and the Chinese market at large was pretty much not so much influenced by external forces and also not influencing so much external markets, because it was very comprised. I mean, people using Taobao or WeChat were primarily using those in China, and the way those operated were and are much more, again, unified and centralized than other platforms elsewhere, like Amazon or eBay or others like that, which exist all over the world and in a more diversified way, perhaps. Also, China has been, for the most part, in urban China, at least in major cities, which still represents well over 500 million people, has been a cashless society for the most part. And this is something that we will be seeing progressing as well in the rest of the world. But again, it's an advantage that China already had. It has been already preparing to be a fully cashless society. Now, moving forward, let me check if I have my time here, if I'm doing okay. I think so. Let's look at the global impact that this had and the pandemic as well. So like I mentioned, consumer habits are shifting, and they're shifting hard. They shifted very hard in the past 18 months. Like I mentioned as well, cashless practices accelerated a lot by the pandemic lockdowns. I mean, people staying at home all over the world, in some places more than others. People suddenly, they couldn't even use cash, even if they wanted to. So they were really relying on digital payments and digital platforms. So those obviously grew a lot, again, exponentially during these last few months. Also in work changes. Obviously, a lot of us have been impacted by that, by remote work, which has been proven to be feasible on a grand scale, globally, even, we could say. This changes a lot of habits, from commuting to work, from buying your groceries, from eating, and how you pay things and how you get things. Suddenly you are at home all the time and it works. You realize, oh, I can just get things to my home. Even later, when you finally go back to the office and work, you still have it in the back of your mind. You can still do all those things and get them at home. So that has changed. And that's what I mean by that. The human physical isolation that we suffered, really, accelerated the digital implementation and permeation of all these platforms and networks around us, really. So the lasting impact of this is that the technological progress that we observed and we experienced and we're still experiencing isn't going back. So even though the pandemic, likely we will go back to living kind of like we used to, all these progresses, all these consumer habits will remain. It's not like we will switch off suddenly. The way we buy things and the growth of digital networks and platforms around the world, this will not go back. Like we have crossed the point of no return, I would say. And this leads me to the next point. Let me just shift here. So what's the impact on markets and marketing in this case that we can observe from everything we have been experiencing lately? For marketing in particular, and for the markets as well, but now I'm going to focus more on the marketing perspective. Demographics have changed. The way we used to see technology being used mostly by young folks, young adults, or adults has changed. Obviously not for everyone, but there's definitely a lot more people now in all age groups that do use and are accustomed to using these new digital platforms for e-commerce, for payments, for daily life. Almost everyone now is really on it, as I say there. And that also changes strategies for marketing, meaning geo-targeting now actually, I would say, trumps age-based strategies. It's important to target, when you do your marketing, to target according to regions and not so much about who you're targeting in terms of ages, because now it's seamless. People of all ages might be needing the same things and using the same things. Of course, this is a big generalization, but it is a tendency, it is a trend. Product diversification, meaning many products that people would only or almost only buy in stores, in real life stores, now they're buying it online. And that's why I put the picture there with the toilet paper in the supermarkets. Everybody remembers the headlines about the toilet paper crisis at the early months of the pandemic, especially in the US. I think if that won't happen again, because next time people will just realize, hey, I can just buy toilet paper online and get it delivered at home. Of course, not everybody. This depends where you're living and different markets, but still, in major urban areas, a lot of people would go to their local stores to buy most of their groceries. And now the networks are in place, the logistics are in place for people to get it at home. So that really impacts a lot. And obviously the increase in volume and types of products, now that people are buying those products online, e-commerce platforms are dealing and are, they are shipping and they're handling those products at much higher volumes. Also from the marketing perspective, we have seen the growth of algorithms. I mean, algorithms are everything right now online, and they're smarter and smarter. I remember when I started marketing a few years ago, there was a lot of people who were super obsessed about SEO in a very practical implementation and terms. There are still people who are very obsessed about SEO, and bless their souls. But we're moving past that. Now, really, it's all about the algorithms, and the algorithms are both reactive and they provoke reaction as well from people. So for marketeers in particular, we need to really look at what people want and not so much telling them what they want. That doesn't work anymore. Again, generally speaking, the old days of marketing, of doing the big ads on TV or whatever, even online, showing what people want, that's not the way it works now. Now it's the algorithms are driven, the narrative and the discourse, and people, on the other hand, are influencing how those algorithms are managing all that data. So yeah, that's definitely an SEO nightmare for marketeers. They and me and us, we need to adapt to that. The transition to digital, of course, this is what all I've been saying. Also in entertainment, in games, in movies, we've seen the biggest growth ever in how digital entertainment is distributed. It's not by chance that streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu and others and digital distribution of games have seen a huge growth during the pandemic, again, because people are at home and that's what they want. So really, what this has allowed in terms of marketing is to do a very direct kind of marketing where people go from being online, they go from discovering the product that they want, they go from wanting it, and they go for purchasing it and consuming it all in one place, all in their house. They don't need to, they're not discovering the product in an ad on TV or online and then going outside to the store to buy it and then bringing it back home to consuming it in physical form or whatever. Now everything, or at least a lot of things, really can be consumed online, and this really and digitally, and this had a huge impact on marketing and again on consumers, how they consume how they consume everything, how they consume products and daily life in general. And this leads to my conclusion, to the new possibilities. And I want to bring this up, the metaverse. It's a buzzword. It's kind of an annoying buzzword that a lot of people have been talking about nonstop lately, but there is really an argument to be made here about the metaverse and how e-commerce and how the pandemic really, again, accelerated this. I mean, if it was not for the pandemic, we probably wouldn't be talking about this, but now this is all most digital distribution services and e-commerce platforms and payment platforms and much more are all talking about, because this will all come together. Now, obviously, to define what the metaverse is open to discussion. It's open to interpretation, depending on who you ask and where you're getting your data. But again, I want to bring back the discussion back to China. China arguably already has what we might consider the closest from a metaverse. People are not using cash. People are using everything online to pay. People have these mega apps like WeChat and others where they can consume everything from digital entertainment to music. They can buy transportation, means of transportation. They can know all kinds of data and resources about their own life, about their work, about people around them, and they can plan ahead and retrospectively as well. So China really has this advantage. And now, because the metaverse, this concept is so ingrained in people's minds and big corporations' minds, they are looking into China about what China has been doing for the past few years and trying to emulate that and perhaps replicate that as much as they can in other markets. Now, obviously, this brings challenges and risks as well. Arguably, one of the reasons why this has been able while this scene has been able to be so solid in China is because you really have very big apps and corporations which have monopolistic practices, meaning like WeChat, I mentioned earlier, pretty much everybody uses in China. This is not the same so much in other markets where people use different platforms, different apps. So this is really the goal. I believe for corporations, they want to have that unified that unified space, either it's digital, physical, but optimally would be digital, for people to consume everything in one place, and so that the data flows in that place, and really service providers and sellers, and in this case e-commerce, can really get all the data they can to drive in exactly and to target their consumers the best they can actually. And that's why I put those two pictures there in my presentation. One picture on the right is actually a screenshot from my own phone using Alipay. And if you look carefully, I understand the icons are small. You can see that it has all kinds of services that you can use in one app. And this is really something that is not yet reflected in other markets because there's so much diversity and competitivity among apps and providers, which is a healthy thing, but it's delaying that potential for consumers and for corporations to really owning it all in and being able to interact in one single place. So we'll see how that goes, if the metaverse will be this really big, broad thing segmented throughout different markets, or if it will just be one controlled by one big entity, perhaps like the Matrix. And this obviously has a lot of impact on how we practice marketing and how e-commerce works in general. And again, all kinds of digital services that we can imagine in our life, that we have and that we will be developing. And all this happened because of the pandemic. We leaped forward years. We probably leaped forward like a decade ahead. If the pandemic wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't be here. All these services, they wouldn't be as evolved as they are right now. Is that's something really worth thinking about. And that's what I leave you with, to some food for thought, to think about that and how you can best use that insight to better your business and your life. So yeah, thank you for watching, and that's pretty much it for me. Back to you, Ashley.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Daniel, for sharing your insights. And it's our Q&A section, and Daniel, you may select some of our interesting questions from our live viewers, and you may give us some feedback on their questions, please.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm looking at some here from the chat box. One is from Victor, or Victor, if he's French, I don't know. The question is, will we see a continuous trend towards a more unified global e-commerce landscape, or more regionally divided? Wow, that's a big question. I would never ask that myself. I think that's a big question indeed. We don't know. The goal from companies is to have a very big unified global e-commerce landscape, which we have to some degree. But I think we'll still have some countries, and in particular, again, China, and perhaps even India and a few others that will remain, kind of have their own ecosystem, their own digital ecosystem, and it will be hard to breach that. Yeah, so that's my answer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, for our next speaker, we have Jenny Chen, the co-founder of Kingdom Playroom, in which she had designed and patented an innovative product for the kids' table called Carry Play. Well, the past 2 years, people have been doing it tough. The e-commerce has continued to grow consistently. So today, we have Jenny to share with us her insights on how to achieve this outcome. Let's welcome Jenny.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny, founder of Kingdom Playroom. I'd like to thank NextSmartShip for inviting me to share my experience on launching and growing my brand during the pandemic. I think this is a really relevant topic to discuss because the pandemic has definitely changed the landscape of e-commerce, at least for the next few years. So I've learned a lot over the past year, and I hope that my experience will provide some valuable insights to help you navigate your business. So a little about me before we start. I'm based in Melbourne with my husband and 3 boys. My professional background is in graphic design, specializing in web and motion designs. But on the side, I also freelance as a Facebook marketer with a focus on product-based startups. I first got into Facebook marketing when I started dabbling in e-commerce about 5 years ago. So over the past few years, I've done almost every econ model from dropshipping to white labeling. And Kingdom Playroom has been my most successful venture so far. I personally identify as a solopreneur. I'm literally a one-woman show, and I wear all the hats in the business. I think this is the case for many e-com startups. In the early days, you do have to go lean, and I do think it's important for founders to learn everything about running a business before outsourcing. So this is my current baby, Kingdom Playroom. It's a concept kids brand that offers unique multifunctional open-ended toys. The Carry Play is my original patent-registered design and the flagship product of Kingdom Playroom. It launched last year in October, so it's almost its first birthday, and it's made a 6-figure revenue since launching. It could have done a lot better in this first year, but there were many challenges due to the pandemic, which I'll cover in this presentation. So just a quick overview of the changes that e-commerce went through in the last year or so. Firstly, working from home used to be the dream and reason why so many of us start our own businesses, breaking the 9 to 5, having more control of our time, etc. But now, thanks to the pandemic, suddenly everyone is working from home. And many corporate businesses have even shifted to a permanent remote or flexible working arrangement. So one of the biggest questions I had to grapple with personally was, why the hell then am I still hustling so hard to get my own business off the ground when the so-called free life is no longer as elusive as it used to be? So this is an important question to ask yourself too. What is your ultimate purpose for starting an e-com business? If your reasons revolve around freedom, it may not be able to sustain you in the long run, because the truth is the pandemic has permanently changed how people work. Working 9 to 5 and being stuck in a daily grind is no longer the common reality for those earning a wage. Many corporations are starting to value work-life balance for their employees. Personally, I love running a business simply because I enjoy the challenges and creativity that it takes to make a brand successful. So anyway, moving on, due to the pandemic, many retailers and businesses had to shift their focus to digital marketing and adapting their products and services to online platforms. Consumers are also flooding into the online space. They're at home more often, so their social media usage is higher. This obviously means there are more opportunities to make sales, but also a lot more competition. Product costs have also gone up because there was actually a shortage of materials and supplies for a period of time, particularly in China, where most of the world's manufacturing takes place. This is a more recent issue, but a few of China's biggest ports had to close down over the past few months due to a few COVID cases amongst the workers there. So this led to severe delays on the entire logistical chain, leading to many customer inquiries, a lot more time invested into customer service, refunds, and order cancellations. Last but not least, as though the pandemic wasn't enough, there was the much dreaded iOS 14 update. I believe it is iOS 15 right now, and I'm sure most of you, if not all, would know about its impact on paid ads. So we can quickly see here that these challenges are out of our control. We can do certain things to minimize its impact, but overall, it's not anything we can directly control. The only exception is your business operating costs. Very often, business owners look at their ROAS to determine how their business is doing, when in fact, to be profitable in your business, you really need to be looking at your operating costs, because these will very quickly reduce your profit margin if you're not careful. On average, for small to medium e-com stores, the gross profit margin is just over 42%. Now, this seems pretty good, but look at what happens when you factor in operating costs. The net profit margin, which is essentially what you take home at the end of the day, is actually less than 5%. So the biggest operating cost is obviously marketing, which is your customer acquisition cost. But the second biggest operating cost, which a lot of people mistakenly calculate into their cost of goods, is shipping to the customer. Cost of goods, technically, in tax terms, only includes the cost of acquiring your products. So things like packaging, manufacturing, freight to your business location, etc. What comes after you receive your shipment are all considered operating costs. So that includes shipping from your place of business to the customer. So bearing in mind the huge impact that operating costs can have on your profit, I'll be sharing from my experience on how to reduce operating costs, especially in marketing and logistics. So as briefly mentioned before, due to iOS 14's impact on the effectiveness of paid ads, customer acquisition costs have increased in the past year. So this requires a change in mentality when we're running ads. Gone are the days where you can run an ad and start seeing some sales. Now that we can no longer accurately and effectively target users across platforms and devices, it's more important than ever to create multiple touch points with our potential customer, or at the very least, create opportunities for those touch points. So to do this, you need a strong understanding of your customer's journey. So you know where you're most likely to meet them or where they're most likely to chance upon your products. Once you have an understanding of where you can potentially establish these touch points, you're essentially already doing multi-channel marketing. One of these channels is content marketing, like publishing blog posts. When you create good content that resonates with your target audience, they will eventually find their way to it, which is where you will meet them. Another channel is influencer marketing, which can be a hit and miss, but after you work with about 30 to 50 influencers, you have enough data to start narrowing your selection and identify which type of influencer works best for your product. So by combining organic and paid marketing strategies, you're reducing your reliance on expensive paid ads like Facebook and Google. So moving on, to illustrate just how costly shipping to your customer can be, I'll be showing you screenshots from my own 3PL fulfillment dashboard. So this first one is a very big 3PL company, which shall remain unnamed for courtesy reasons. And you can see here the chargeable weight and the cost of delivery. You can't see from the screenshot, but the delivery is from Texas, which is where the warehouse is located, to Pennsylvania. This is important, so keep that in mind. Now here in the second screenshot is from my NextSmartShip dashboard. And you can see that for the same product weight converted to kg, the total delivery cost is almost 40% cheaper. And here's the stunner. My warehouse with NextSmartShip is in California. Now, my geography isn't great, but just looking at the map, I can tell that the distance from California to Pennsylvania is further than Texas to Pennsylvania. So that makes the savings on delivery costs even more incredible. I've suspected for a long time that I was paying way too much for shipping when I was with the previous 3PL. But it was only after I started using NextSmartShip that I had the exact figures to compare. What I really like about NextSmartShip is you can see from the screenshot that I can choose from several different couriers depending on the price. Whereas with my previous 3PL, I didn't have that option. They would make the decision for me and book whichever courier they wanted. So why is there such a big difference in delivery costs? I've done a bit of research into this, and I believe it comes down to the difference between a 3PL and a 4PL. A lot of so-called 3PL companies these days, particularly the big ones you see on Shopify, are actually closer to being 4PLs. They are essentially the middleman between you and the fulfillment warehouse. So this is just my theory, but I believe that true 3PL warehouses can negotiate much lower shipping quotes from shipping companies because of the sheer volume of orders they dispatch each day. So this savings gets passed on to you when you work directly with the warehouse. But when you use a 4PL, the middleman, the savings don't get passed on to you because the quotes that you see in your dashboard may have been marked up or the 4PL is not able to get lower shipping rates. But even so, the important thing to note is that even 4PLs can get better shipping rates than if you were shipping on your own. And that's taking into consideration other fees like pick and pack. So unless you're making absolutely zero sales, I would highly recommend moving to a 3PL or 4PL as soon as your sales are consistent, even if it's just a couple of sales a day. Now here's a little surprise. Operating cost number 3, your time is one of the biggest operating costs in your business. If you consider yourself as an employee of a business and start calculating your time with an hourly rate, you'll quickly see how much you are costing your business if you're spending a lot of time doing things that are not giving you maximum return. So one of the ways I determine how I spend my time in regards to the business is drawing up a diagram that looks something like this. I categorize tasks based on how much time it requires and whether it will get me short-term or long-term results. And I measure results in terms of sales. So on a weekly and monthly basis, I will then plan out what I want to achieve based on how much time I have. For instance, writing blog posts for SEO purposes is extremely time-consuming and is very long-term investment. On average, it will take 6 to 12 months before you see any results. So I set my target very low because I don't want to be spending too much time on it. So I'll probably just write 1 article per fortnight to start with. On the other side, email marketing has proven to be one of the highest converting marketing channels for me. So I will allocate time every week to plan and schedule new emails, check my email flows, and find opportunities to optimize my email funnels. Effectively using your time on both short and long-term tasks will ensure every minute you spend on your business is giving you the greatest return on your time. And this is a bonus section from me. Apart from reducing operating costs, one of the ways I've been able to grow my business through the pandemic is increasing average order values. And there are several ways to do it. Because I started with 1 flagship product, I introduced a few smaller side products that are compatible with it. So this essentially becomes a downsell model. The reverse would be a traditional upsell, where you hook customers in with a lower value product and then upsell a more expensive product. Both ways are fine and just depends on what makes sense for your business and products. The most important thing I did was really focus on building customer relationships. I set up a Facebook group exclusively for my customers only, and this proved to be very successful in getting user-generated content because customers were posting their happy snaps with the carry play in the group. So with limited finances, I was still able to release new products quickly within a year of launching a carry play because I used pre-orders to generate cash flow. Once you establish an early customer base, if you have nurtured them into passionate advocates for your product, they will be the first ones to pre-order when you release a new product. And lastly, this is something I did before launching the carry play while I was still doing market research. It's easy to assume that if a product is more expensive, it'll get less sales. But there is a sweet spot where the pricing indicates it's a high quality product and at the same time affordable enough for your target audience. The challenge is doing enough research and testing to find that sweet spot. Sometimes just increasing your product pricing by 10% can greatly increase your average order value. And it's not such a significant increase that it'll completely change your target demographic. So the challenges that came with the pandemic has shed light on the fragility of e-commerce because of its dependency on things that work, like Facebook ads. So when things suddenly stop working, it throws people off. So as a summary of my presentation, these are the key factors to building a business that can be profitable even in times of uncertainty. Firstly, build multiple traffic sources so that you're not putting all your eggs into one basket. If you're relying only on one channel to make you money, you're putting your business at risk. Secondly, your products should solve a problem for people or add value to their lives. This sounds very subjective, but essentially what you want to do is position your product as a need more than a want. Next, you want to manage your time effectively. You need to have automated systems in place. These automations will free up your time and headspace to work on growing the business. Lastly, and most importantly, you have to understand your future customers. It's all too easy for founders to get stuck in what used to be working for them or who they think their customers are. Times change, generations grow up. Your audience today may not be the same tomorrow. If you're building a business for the future, you need to be always trying to understand your new customers and how to market to them. So that's it from me. That's all I've prepared for today. I hope I've been able to provide some value here, and I'll hand it back over to Ashley.
Thank you very much, Jenny. And we do have many viewers who are interested in your experiences, and they have posted so many questions. Thank you very much, Jenny. So could you please select a few questions that might interest you, and please also give us the feedback to those questions. And you may read out their names and also about the questions as well.
Yep, sure. So there's a question from David. In terms of controlling the shipping costs, do I have any suggestions? So like I mentioned, I think for me, it was really game changer when I actually started using a 3PL. So as a solopreneur, like I was trying to save money in the early stages of my business. I was trying to, try not to spend any dollars that unnecessarily. So I was doing all the packaging, all the shipping, printing out like labels on my own. And eventually I decided to use a 3PL because the carry play is a massive product. So I didn't have enough storage space. And when I actually did switch over to a 3PL, that was a game changer because not only is the shipping cost a lot lower than, if I were to book a shipping company myself, just having someone else do the packing and, shipping and tracking and all that, it frees up my headspace. So it allows me to, just push a button to fulfill it, and then I can forget about that order. Like I know it's in good hands. So I think the best thing I can say about controlling shipping costs is to really look into a 3PL. Unless you're in the early stages where you don't have any consistent sales at all, in which case I would suggest, so I don't know much about the United States, but here in Australia, you can open up accounts with individual couriers. So there are a lot of private independent couriers that you can open up a customer account with. And so when you book directly with them, they usually offer a much lower rate than say if you use like those Shopify apps where they give you all the options of all the couriers, like Sandal. Sandal is a really big one here in Australia, but Sandal is not a courier. They're like a network of couriers. So I would advise you to open up a customer account directly with the courier companies. I hope that answers your question. With the next question, Luca was asking, what's your suggestion on finding the winning product? So I think this is a very drop shipping question. So when we talk about winning product, I think it's really not about trying to find a product that's going to make you $1 million. It's about coming from an angle where you see a problem and you want to find a solution to that problem. So if you have a good like problem solution fit, like a product market fit, that's when your product will do well. So I would suggest, changing your perspective or your mentality. Don't look at it from a perspective of which product's going to make me lots of money. So, that's why I was asking, that's why right at the start of my presentation, I was asking, what's your purpose for starting an e-commerce business? If your reason is about, making money and having freedom, it's going to be really hard to succeed because that's not going to be enough to sustain you. If you're always fixated on how much money you're going to make, how much money this product's going to make, it's going to be really hard. So change your mentality. Don't think about looking for a winning product. Look at how you want to start a business that can change lives for people, make something easier for them, make their lives better, add value to their product, to their lives. So Ashley, do we have time for one more question?
Yes, sure, no problem. Yes, please.
Okay, so I think just one more from Greg. What automations would you suggest for logistics? So most, because I'm using a 3PL, most 3PLs, they do have native integration with Shopify, which makes it very easy for shipping. Literally, you just press fulfill, and then it just gets sent to the warehouse. They do all the picking, packing, and then once it's dispatched, a tracking number will come out. Sometimes you need to manually input the tracking number back into you need to sync it with the Shopify order, but some would do it automatically. So, which is why I really recommend looking into, starting with the 3PL, because that's how you really automate your logistics and your shipping.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for today. Thank you for joining us and sharing your experiences. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thanks.
An effective Google Ads strategy and social media campaign are key to success. A key to success for the e-commerce sellers, and What are the benefits of online advertising, and how does one achieve outstanding performance at one reasonable cost? So today we have Keith Cacardia, the CEO of Socially In, to share his insights with us. His company is listed as one of the top 10 social media agencies over the past 3 years, and one of the top 200 global agencies by the chief marketers in 2019. Let's welcome Keith.
Okay, here we go. Awesome. So again, thank you so much for having me. I only have 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to go through all of this information pretty quickly. But basically what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be policy changes on the social ad channels and Google search, obviously, plus using content to drive more conversions. Just to give you an idea of who we are as a company, we are Socially In. We focus 100% on social media marketing, and we help some of the world's greatest brands with their social channels. We help brands like Samsung, Asus, Dick's Sporting Goods, and many other e-commerce businesses with their social media marketing. Like Ashley said, we have won numerous awards for our work. We have won awards with Clutch. Maybe you can go on to the next slide, whoever is doing that. So we won awards like Top Social Media Agency, Top Marketing Agency by Chief Marketer, Agency Spotter. We won many awards there. So we know what we're doing. We have a team of about 50 people, and we help with specifically social media. We have partnerships with almost all of the major social channels. So we were the first 300 global TikTok agency partners. We're Facebook marketing preferred partners and many other partnerships that we have. This is just a quick snapshot of our clients. I'm going to have my contact information at the end of this presentation. So if you'd like to learn more, just please email me or text me. Okay, so let's get into the meat of the presentation. So I'm going to go through every single platform. I'll go through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, etc. But starting with Facebook, we know that there are 8 million active advertisers on Facebook. And the vast majority of those advertisers are small and medium-sized businesses. So that tells us a lot. Based on the fact that Facebook might be a saturated marketplace, right? So this is not 2013, which was the early days of Facebook. Today, it's very saturated. So as advertisers, we have to look at other platforms. But a couple of updates on the platform that you guys might not know about. So number one is Facebook launches a campaign idea generator. If you just Google Facebook campaign idea generator, basically what it does is it aggregates all of the campaigns that people are running in your industry, and it will give you inspiration of what type of campaigns that you should be running. Number two is Facebook Reels are being tested in the United States. So I know the majority of this conference is in the United States. So most of the companies are in the US. So think about that, right? So whenever you think about Instagram, Instagram Reels are very hot today. If you're not doing Instagram Reels, you should be doing Instagram Reels. But Reels are also being tested on Facebook now. Okay. Number three is Facebook recently published what they call the widely viewed content report. If you just Google that, Facebook widely viewed content report, that's going to give you a lot of insight that the company that you're spending money with published themselves. It's going to show you, what type of content is being viewed the most. It's going to give you statistics about what formats of content are working, and many different things. So the Facebook widely viewed content report is going to be helpful to anyone who is running ads on Facebook. And then number 4, this is really exciting because, I'm a nerd. I am into VR, and Facebook recently launched what they called Horizon Workrooms. So if you have, for example, a VR headset, an Oculus device, for example, then you can actually utilize Horizon Workrooms. For all of the companies on the call today that are remote, this is big, right? Because my company is remote. We have about 50 team members all across the United States. And I'm always thinking about how can we get people together on the call? So Facebook Horizon Workrooms are going to be how people are going to connect with each other in the future using VR. And as a brand, you could be thinking about this. As a brand, you could hold a VR session. Maybe you can do a behind the scenes session that people could join in through VR and understand more about your company. Okay, next is Instagram. So Instagram is a social channel with the second highest ROI among marketers. As you can imagine, Facebook is number 1. Couple of updates that are happening on the Instagram platform. Number 1 is Instagram reveals how its search algorithm works, right? This is the question that everybody has been thinking of, is how does the Instagram algorithm actually work? Well, we don't have to think anymore. They actually released a publication that will show you exactly how the search algorithm works. And you can literally Google that and you can understand it. So if you have a social media marketer on your team, they should absolutely read this report that they've put out. Number 2 is goodbye stories. So Instagram is focusing more on swipe up links, less swipe up through stories. So even on your organic feed, you'll be able to swipe up and shop. Number 3 is there's going to be a new ad format, right? Like we all know about the ad formats. There's video, there's carousel ads, there's story ads, but now there's going to be a new ad format for the Instagram shop tab. So if you guys have an agency or if you have an internal team, I would highly recommend asking the question to them, hey, what are we going to be doing for the Instagram shop tab? And they will tell you like, hey, this is our plan for Instagram shop. This is not Instagram shopping. This is a new ad format. Okay. Number 4 is there's a new professional dashboard. There's a new stay informed section that allows creator to see how other businesses connect with people through a guide. So again, all of the stuff I'm talking about today, just Google it. And I believe NextSmartShip will send the presentation to all of the attendees. So just Google what each bullet point that I'm saying, and then you'll find more information about it. The goal for me today is expose you to ideas that you might not know about. Okay, and then now number 5 is Instagram is going to require users to enter their birth date in part of new protection against youngsters. So obviously, if you have a product that is advertising to a younger demographic, you might see a decrease in your potential reach if users are not entering their birth date into Instagram. You won't be able to advertise to them. Okay, Twitter. So Twitter's 2020 Q3 revenue was almost $1 billion. So $936 million on advertising. Most direct-to-consumer brands don't even think about Twitter as an advertising channel. And I want to encourage and I want to challenge each of you to say, hey, I'm spending $100,000 a month on Facebook, but what am I spending on Twitter? 93% of the Twitter community are open to brands getting involved in the conversation. So if you're not jumping into conversation, Twitter is an open platform. You can see everyone's conversation. If you are not jumping into a conversation as a brand, then you're missing out. And, as a business owner, you might think, oh, well, we don't want to, involve in people's conversations, or we don't want to, make them feel some sort of way. But again, our data shows that 93% of Twitter users are okay with the brand involving themselves in the conversation. Okay, a couple of updates on the platform. Number one is Twitter is launching a live test of new option to remove specific followers. Historically, you could block followers, but that's not removing followers. So, if you have a large brand and you have a lot of haters, then this is going to be an option that you will be able to utilize. Okay, number two is Twitter Commerce. It's on its way. The latest experiment spotted a new purchase tab, which displays subscriptions or digital tickets bought via Twitter. So you can already do Twitter cards on Twitter ads, but very similar to Instagram shopping, Twitter is going to be rolling out with its own purchase tab. Okay, and then last but not least is Twitter is launching what they call super followers, which is basically going to allow creators to monetize their followers, very much like Patreon or something like that, right? So if you are a follower of an artist or a brand and you really support that brand, maybe your brother owns the brand and you want to support it, well, you can become a super follower and you can get people to pay you for exclusive content. As a brand, you can have your own Patreon set up through Twitter now. Okay. TikTok, this is the big elephant in the room. So TikTok's average engagement rate is highest based on follower levels across social media. So what I mean by that is if you have 1 million followers on TikTok and you have 1 million followers on Facebook, TikTok is going to be more prominent when it comes to showcasing your content to those 1 million followers. Facebook, for example, has an engagement rate of about 0.5 to maximum 2% without boosting the content. On February 2019, TikTok hit 1 billion downloads, beating Instagram and Facebook's growth when it comes to the speed of getting 1 billion users. Okay. Updates on the platform. So TikTok has opened up a quick promote option. So basically this is boosting, right? So everyone is familiar with boosting a post on Facebook. TikTok is doing the same thing. So if you create an organic TikTok, now you can automatically boost it within the platform to be able to get that TikTok in front of the right users. Okay. TikTok is also testing stories. So very similar to Instagram stories, TikTok is now doing short form video content because right now you can publish a TikTok and it can be 3 minutes long. So that's a pretty long form video. But now TikTok is testing a maximum of 15-second videos in forms of stories. Okay. Number 3 is TikTok has published a creative solutions guide, and they're partnering with companies like Vimeo and Canva. If you are not familiar with Canva, I highly recommend it. It's easy to create TikToks using Canva. TikTok has released a guide that basically gives you a creative solution. So if you're sitting there and you're saying, I don't know what kind of TikTok I should create, what type of video should I post on TikTok? Well, don't think about it, right? Like you don't have to come up with the answers. Google search TikTok creative solutions guide, and they're going to give you the blueprint of how you can create a TikTok video. Okay. Number 4, TikTok has launched a creator marketplace. This is to help facilitate brands and collaborators easily. Basically, everyone on this call today is a direct-to-consumer company. Everyone is thinking about influencer marketing. If you're not thinking about influencer marketing, you should be. You're behind the wheel. And TikTok is launching a marketplace in order for you guys to be able to easily get in front of the right influencer, right? So the question today for a direct-to-consumer brand is, what kind of influencers should we talk to? How much does it cost? What are they going to do for me? That is all of those questions are being alleviated by the creator marketplace on TikTok. Okay. I'll move a little bit quicker because I think we're coming up on our time. But in 2019, LinkedIn Inmail was the 3rd most used candidate. So a lot of the direct-to-consumer brands on this call today have retail partners. So you might sell your product in retail stores. LinkedIn is a great way to get in front of those retailers and the distributors that ultimately will sell your product. LinkedIn is the second most popular social media platform used by B2B marketers. So, a lot of direct-to-consumer brands are obviously B2C, but you have retailers and distributors that you want to get in front of. Couple of updates on the platform. LinkedIn is shutting down LinkedIn Stories. LinkedIn is acquiring a video app called Jump Rope. LinkedIn adds a new live streaming event for LinkedIn Learning, List, and popular courses. So for example, everyone is watching this event through Facebook Live. Pretty soon, you'll be able to also watch it on LinkedIn Live. And then organic posting from founders tend to work very well. So if you're the founder of the company and you're not on LinkedIn and you are not posting and you're not being your own evangelist of the brand, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. Okay, Google Ads. So number one is they are making it easier to show the right message on search. So as you can imagine, everyone here has been using Google for the past 10 years at least. You can even see with your own self that Google is improving the search algorithm. Okay. A couple of tips. So set up your responsive search ads. So after June 30th, 2022, you'll no longer be able to create or edit expanded text ads. However, your existing expanded text ads will continue to serve alongside responsive search ads. So that's the key word, responsive search ads. I want everyone to Google responsive search ads. And you'll still be able to see their report and performance moving forward. So in order to be successful with the new responsive search ads, we need to repurpose high-performing content from your expanded text ads. Number two is check your account's recommendations page. So if you or your agency is running Google search ads, tell them go look at the recommendations page. You might think that a human is smarter than Google's AI, but it's not, right? We are not smarter than the algorithm. So just look at the recommendations page. If the recommendations is telling you to do something, do it because it's their platform and they're recommending it to you. Number three is pin the headlines or descriptions of your specific positions in your responsive search ads. Use ad variations. So think about different formats of ads that you can be using on Google search and try to use all of them, right? So marketing is about A and B testing. And then last but not least is evaluate your success of the ads based on incremental impressions, clicks, and conversions to your ad groups and campaigns, right? So you want to be able to monitor it month over month and say, hey, are we reducing the cost per conversion? Are we increasing the amount of impressions that are happening? Are we increasing the amount of click CTR? So you want to be looking at this on a monthly basis and make sure that there are incremental improvements that are happening. Okay. Number two is I want everyone to stand out this holiday season with your shopping and return options. So highlight your shipping and return policy directly in your Google ad. So now Google has a new shipping and return annotation that you're able to use whenever you're running your Google search ad. So I want everyone to use that, right? Like highlight your shipping and return policy because as a consumer today, they care about that. Number three is elevate your business identity with women-owned or veteran-owned attributes, right? So if you're a women-owned business or a veteran-owned business, I want you to highlight that. I want you to say that, hey, we are a Black-owned business within your Google ads because this is going to help the conversion rate at the end of the day. If you don't tell people, no one knows. Okay? And then alternative channels. So influencers, I want everyone on this call to be utilizing influencers. And if you don't utilize influencers, contact me. I have my contact information at the end. I want to help you. I'm not going to charge you anything. I want to help you figure out how you can use influencers. So the allocation of marketing budgets towards influencers is on the rise, right? So it's up to 7.5% this year versus 6.5% last year. And it's expected to rise to about 12.5% in the next 3 years. So that's a huge portion of your total marketing budget. Content, adapt your content to the latest features and current attitudes. So if you're on TikTok, for example, I want you to be thinking about the trends. I want you to be thinking about the different sounds that are trending. So adapt your content. And then funnel, reduce the friction between social media and e-commerce platforms. This is huge. If you don't take away anything I said, this is one key piece. You need to reduce the friction from social media to e-commerce. Think about Amazon, right? Like everyone should be using Amazon as like the North Star. You can literally buy something on Amazon today with one click. If I have my credit card and my address set up, I can literally go on Amazon, click one button, and it delivers to my house, right? So that has reduced the friction of buying something drastically. So think about that. Most business owners, especially e-commerce owners, they've never even bought something on their website. Go to your own website, buy something, act like a consumer, plug in your credit card information, don't have a discount code, actually go into your website and buy something. And I want everyone on the call to do that. If you haven't bought something from your own website, then you're not understanding how customers are reacting with the website. So I want everyone after this call to go to your own website and actually buy something. Don't use a discount code, use a personal email address, but think about how are users interacting with my website. All right, quickly, trends. Brands will continue to take a less is more posting approach. Content value will beat production quality. Conversational marketing will change its tone. So I want you guys to be thinking about a Facebook bot. Consumers will crave snackable content. So that's micro content on the different channels like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Video will continue to take the center stage and more brands will start going live. If you're not going live, I want you to think about that, right? Like if you're not the marketer, if you're not a creative person, get a creative person on your team to think about, hey, even though we sell, phone cases, how can we go live? What can we do to go live? Okay, 10 tips in less than 10 minutes. Number one, content is king. Tell a story. I want you guys to think about your story. How was the company founded? Are you guys eco-friendly? What is it that you'll be able to tell a story of? Have compelling call to actions. So don't have a basic, go buy my stuff. Here's the link in my bio. Come on, think about it a little bit more and try to come up with a compelling call to action. Number three is brand consistency is important. So all of your content, all of your visuals should follow a cohesive branding guideline. Use videos. If you're not using video, everyone go and hire someone right now to go and find someone to help you do videos. Test your social post. So I want you guys to think about A and B testing. Everyone here already knows about A and B testing on Facebook, but think about it a little bit further. Can you do A and B testing on TikTok? Can you do A and B testing? Can you do A, B, and C testing? Can you test your visual? Can you test your copy? Think about testing your social media post. Number 6, guide your potential customers to your website. Pretty simple. I'm not going to explain that further. Nurture your leads throughout the sales funnel, right? So everyone here should be running retargeting campaigns. If you're not running retargeting campaigns, especially to the people who have added something to your cart, you're missing out on a lot of money. Use social listening. Every social media tool today, Sprinkler, Hootsuite, Sprout Social, everyone has a listening tool. Make sure you're using that listening tool. Social commerce. I talked about Instagram shopping. I talked about TikTok coming up with their own shopping platform. Think about this. Make sure that you're utilizing it because remember, you want to reduce the friction that someone has to buy your product. And then obviously track your social analytics and conversions. If you don't have a TikTok pixel installed on your website, even if you're not running TikTok ads, you're missing out on a lot of data. Make sure your Facebook pixel is installed. Make sure you're tracking all of the conversions, okay? Now, I wanna sell myself a little bit here. So everyone on this call is a direct-to-consumer brand. At Socially In, we have what we call Socially In Studios. We create original social media content. You would send your product to our studio here in Atlanta, which is in the southern United States, and we would create original content for you, okay? We can do everything from AR Snapchat filters, stop motion graphics, real-time content. We can really do anything that you might be able to think of for social media content. We can do product photography. We can do what we call content in motion. So this is thumb-stopping content. Okay, we can do graphics, we can do Facebook and Instagram stories. So in short, we can do everything in the world of content. Okay, so last slide here, and then I'm going to move into questions. So we want to give all of the NextSmart partners with a free social media audit. So if you're interested in getting my team to look at your social media and give you a free audit, it's not going to cost you anything. Please text me 769-257-9183. I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on iMessage, I'm on Android, everything. So just text me at that phone number, or you can email me, my name, keith@sociallyin.com. So for all of the NextSmartShip partners, we want to be able to give you a free social media audit. Okay, so that's the end of it. Let's go through some questions. All right, so question number 1 comes from Samuel. How can I target the people precisely if I invest in Google and Facebook ads? All right, Samuel. So number 1 is I think you need to be involved in the ad platform, right? So look at the, they have a thing called Facebook Blueprint. I want you to look at Facebook Blueprint, and that's going to give you a more idea of how you can precisely target people. Also, use the pixel data, right? So if you have your pixel set up on your website, use the pixel data. Or find an expert, right? Like find someone, right? You know, I can play basketball, but I can't play basketball like LeBron James played basketball. Same thing with ads. They're ad experts. They're people who spend millions of dollars a year, you know, who are just going to know more than you or me. Question number 2 comes from Irene. For the new e-commerce owner, what's your suggestion on the advertising strategy or priorities, the most cost-effective way? A great question, Irene. So, you know, if I was starting an e-commerce business today, my focus would be on TikTok. So I recommend that if you're not running ads on TikTok, go and run some ads because it's very cheap. It's like the early days of Facebook. Like I said, there's 8 million advertisers on Facebook today, which drives the cost up. Question number 3 comes from Blanchy. I hope I said your name right. Does TikTok a good platform to drive the real sales to e-commerce? Yes, absolutely. So I told you that we are one of the first 300 global TikTok agency partners. We spend about $5 million a year on TikTok for our e-commerce clients, and we are crushing it. We have not seen any higher ROI. Well, before on Facebook, yes, but you know, after the iOS update, we haven't seen any higher ROI than TikTok. Number 4, Victor, do you know how I can connect my Shopify to TikTok? Is it allowed? Yes, it is allowed, and start with a pixel. So TikTok, just like any other ad channel, Pinterest, Facebook, they have a pixel that you can install on the website. So I want you to start there. Go sign up for a TikTok ad account and then get the pixel and install it on your website. If you're not going to run TikTok ads, fine, don't run TikTok ads, but at least have your pixel there. Naomi, how to work with influencers. And Tony, how to work with influencers. Same question. So there are many search tools out there. So IZEA is one of them, IZEA. Another one is Upfluence, UPfluence. This is going to allow you to find influencers. So step number 1 is you got to find the people. So create a Google sheet or an Excel sheet, write down every single influencer that you want to work with. Just literally write them down. It doesn't matter. The second, find their email address. Put it into column number 2 on your Excel sheet. And then start contacting these people, right? So literally email all of them and say, hey, we make phone cases, or we make watches, or we make, you know, laptop, whatever. It doesn't matter what you make. Contact them, start a conversation. So it all starts with, first of all, use a tool like Upfluence or IZEA to find the influencers, put them in your Google sheet, and then find their email address, which some of the tools will actually give you their email address, and then contact them, start the conversation. Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions. Ashley, I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Keith, for joining us today. And I really appreciate your very passionate and inspiring conversation with you. Thank you so much for today.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yes, so before we move on forward, so guys, please share our links, share our live streaming links to your Facebook or your other social media accounts, because for all attendees today, you will receive our attendance gift. Yes, so let's move on to our next guest. So have you ever considered, are you sure about the actual cost of foreign exchange through the banks? And would you find international trading more attractive if the fees are more transparent? So our following guest, Aaron Rossi, will tell you how to solve the payment problems for cross-border e-commerce sellers. Let's welcome Aaron.
Hello, everybody. Yes, and welcome to my session. I'm Aaron Rossi. I am the Partnerships Director here at Payoneer. And for my session today, I'm just going to be talking to you a little bit about cross-border payments and how that fits into your Shopify selling strategy. So just to kick things off, just a little bit about Payoneer. Payoneer is for those who don't know, a global cross-border payments company for B2B. We are very strong in the e-commerce marketplace space and just generally for e-commerce merchants. Some of you may be aware of us. We just in the last few months listed on NASDAQ as a publicly traded company. And we support the payouts to online sellers for dozens, if not hundreds, of the global marketplaces around the world. I've listed some of these here: Amazon, eBay, Walmart, work with many Shopify sellers, etc. And yeah, we transact pushing 50 billion plus in transactions this year. Now, just very quickly before I dive into payments, I mean, everybody knows this, but in terms of some global payment trends from moving from 2020 into 2021, so in the last year or so, economic confidence and spending habits are changing thanks to the pandemic. And we have seen a rapid expansion in terms of e-commerce activity. Revenue in the e-commerce market approached 2 trillion in 2020 alone, so that, of course that's increasing rapidly, and mobile commerce is also becoming very important. And then just diving a little bit into the international cross-border payment space, it usually does come with a lot of lack of transparency. International trade is now worth over 700 billion pounds. It's an enormous market, and for those that are selling across your e-commerce web stores, the opportunity to trade cross-border now as online sellers is as big as ever. It doesn't matter where you are based in the world. These platforms like Shopify here are here to present an enormous opportunity to you. Up to 6% growth. SMEs expect international revenues to grow from 44 to 66% in the next 3 years. And SMEs doing business in at least 6 countries will jump 129% in the next 3 years. So just diving a little bit into, okay, you're a Shopify merchant, thinking about payments. What actually is relevant to you as a Shopify merchant from a payments perspective? And actually there's quite a few. Payments plays a really big part in your business. Firstly, receiving domestic and global payments. So of course you're selling your products maybe in one market, maybe in multiple markets all around the world, and you need to be able to receive those payments cost effectively and efficiently. Once you've received those payments, there's a few things that you need to be bearing in mind. Number one is foreign exchange rates. So you're perhaps selling across different markets that have different currencies than your home market, or perhaps you're also buying goods from other markets, importing goods from other markets that have different currencies. So whenever you're doing this trading, there's going to be a foreign exchange rate involved, and depending on who you're using, whether it's Shopify, Stripe, banks, the exchange rate you can get can range quite broadly and be very expensive. So that's very important. And then you've got to pay your suppliers. So of course, big one for Shopify merchants is paying for digital ads, which most people will be doing through debit or credit cards. Here again, you need to be making sure that with your card you can have high acceptance rates, so there's no disruption. Maybe you need to find a provider that offers multiple virtual cards so you can manage different campaigns and manage your redundancy. And again, of course, you need to avoid expensive foreign exchange rates. And then just generally paying any supplier. So maybe you're based in Europe, maybe you're based in the US, and maybe you source your goods from China. And that's an international payment, which will take foreign exchange fees or wire fees. So that's another expense to your business. Here, hopefully, we'll just map out to you exactly what the journey is for a cross-border seller to receive your payments through your web store. And this will actually show you how it kind of breaks down in terms of the different providers you'll use, and how you can optimize each of those steps. So number one step, of course, is the consumer purchase. So this is when the consumer on your website is actually making that payment either by their card or their local payment method. Number two is that payment being processed. So this is whereby you'll be working with a payment gateway or an acquirer. Most that work with Shopify will be working with the likes of Stripe or even Shopify Payments, so Shopify's own payment gateway, which is powered by Stripe. So this is when that company you're working for is actually processing that payment in the background for you to then ultimately receive that payment. Number three is then the marketplace or the payment gateway transferring those funds to your account. So they've processed the payment, they've taken their fees, there's an amount left over that you're due, and they need to transfer those funds to you. Typically that's in a bank account or several bank accounts. And this is an area, certainly from the Payoneer side and from the cross-border payment side, this is an area that is really important for you to optimize, and there's lots of options and ways for you to do that. And then finally, in your payment journey as a cross-border seller, it's okay, you've received your money, you've got your money from your sales, you need to run your business now. So you need to pay your suppliers, you need to pay for your PPC, those types of things. Now, when it comes to international payments, there's quite a few issues that you may encounter when either using your bank to make or receive international payments, or perhaps even receiving payments through your payment gateway when there's a currency conversion involved or a marketplace. So two main things, or I suppose three main things, but you want to be thinking about cost and transparency. On the cost side, there's wire fees. This is typically when you're using your bank to make international payments, for example, for supplier orders. A bank every time just may charge you $20 to $50 or £20 to £50 wire fee, which is a new payment, then it's going to be painful. Even if it's a big value payment, if you're making a lot of those, then it's going to be costly. Currency conversion fees is the big one that you need to make sure that you're on top of, and that you make sure that whoever you're using to conduct your foreign exchange is offering you good rates. Realistically, so whoever you're using, whether it's a bank, whether it's Stripe, whether it's a marketplace, whether it's a fintech like Payoneer, all of these parties are taking the mid-market rate, and they're building in their margin or their fee into the exchange rate. So this is where the transparency thing comes in, is all you're seeing is the exchange rate you're receiving, or you're just seeing the amount of money you're receiving, perhaps in pounds from your dollars. It's very difficult to know if you don't have the knowledge and education, what you're actually being charged there. So it's important to know what you're being charged in your exchange rate, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. And then of course time plays a big factor. You want to make sure that you're receiving your payments quickly, you're making your payments quickly, so you can run your business and run your cash flow as efficiently as possible. So solving problems for cross-border e-commerce sellers. Right here is a key problem that many of you may be encountering. Some of you will be encountering it consciously. You know it's a problem, you just don't know what the solution is. Some of you, and many of you, may be encountering this issue without even realizing the problem. So let's say you're selling to the US market. So you're receiving your products in US dollars, and let's say you're just based anywhere else. It doesn't matter where you're based. You could be based in the UK, EU, you could be based in Asia. Whatever happens, your home currency is different to the market that you're selling in. So the market you're selling is US dollars. Your home currency is, it could be pounds, could be euros, could be Chinese yuan, it could be anything. Now, if you don't have if you are not receiving your Stripe or your web store USD sales into a local receiving account based in the US, so a USD account based in the US, then that means that Stripe or Shopify Payments or whoever your payment gateway is will be conducting the currency exchange for you. So they will be building in their margin to do the conversion back to your home currency. Now, for Stripe and Shopify, that essentially means 2%. Now, that is 2 percentage points of your total value of your payment. So pretty much your sales. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, you're doing $50,000 a month in sales. That means that you are actually paying a foreign exchange fee of $1,000 per month, $12,000 per year to whoever your payment gateway is, Stripe or Shopify. Now, once you've then received that payment, you're going to have to pay your suppliers. Your suppliers might be in a different currency as well. And perhaps you're using your bank to make that payment. A bank, very commonly for a small business, will be charging anywhere up to 3 to 4% building into the foreign exchange fee, in addition to their wire fee. So in this process of you receiving your international payments and then making your international payments, you could easily, very, very easily, and this will be happening with many of you, you could be paying and losing up to 6% of your sales volumes on foreign exchange fees without even realizing it. So what's the solution? I've already kind of touched on this. Is to, for your business to have local receiving currency accounts in the countries that you're selling. So if you're selling across the Eurozone, you want to have a local Euro account. If you're selling in the US market, you want to have a local USD account, etc. Now, the important thing about this is to be compliant is it needs to be a unique set of virtual accounts in your company's name, which is something that providers like Payoneer offers. And the account needs to be based in country. It needs to be a local receiving account. So it can't be, if you're want to receive dollars from Stripe, it can't be a dollar account based in the UK or a dollar account based in Europe or based anywhere else. It has to be domiciled based in the US for you to be able to receive that payment locally. So this is the important thing for all of you. No matter what you're doing, if you're selling internationally, selling to international markets, you should have local receiving accounts in the markets you're selling into, and you should be given these local receiving accounts in your Stripe platform as the bank account to receive payments for that particular market, which Stripe allows you to do. So with Stripe, you're able to have, let's say you're selling across 3 markets, UK, Eurozone, and the US, you would be able to have UK bank account, Eurozone bank account, and a USD bank account. And this final slide here really just shows you how all of this knits together. So this would be a Payoneer-like solution, which we'd be more than happy to talk you through how this could fit with your business. And essentially here we're starting from you actually, okay, so you Stripe or Shopify payments have been processing your payments, and here you are, you're the seller. So this is the seller account, and with Payoneer, you have a GBP account, you have a Euro account, you have a USD account, etc. Now, from Stripe or Shopify, they're going to send your funds in whatever currency balances you have with them into your relevant Payoneer balance. So if you're selling in the US, then they're going to send your USD into your Payoneer US dollar account. That means you're avoiding Stripe's 2% currency conversion fee. Now, from here, there's a bunch of things you can actually do with the funds in your account. You can very simply just withdraw those funds back to your home bank account. And what's going to happen here is that Payoneer is going to conduct the foreign exchange, the currency conversion from dollars to your home currency instead of Stripe, because Payoneer now have your dollars. You're now getting Payoneer's currency conversion rate, and Payoneer's currency conversion rate is much cheaper than Stripe's or Shopify payments or the banks or Amazon's. You will be saving here very easily at least 1 percentage point on your volume. So if you're doing 50K per month, you at the very least with Payoneer be saving $500 per month or $6,000 per year. Very simple way to save money here and optimize your payments. But it then goes a step further. So let's say you've got funds in your dollar balance. You can use that balance to actually make payments out to third parties. So you can pay your suppliers. Now, what can you do? You can pay your VAT or local or sales tax. You can pay your suppliers for your products or other services, or you can actually get a card with Payoneer to pay for your digital ads, again in the same currency. And with this, you can actually get a cashback as well. So here, this type of solution that Payoneer offers is after the payment's been processed by Stripe, and it's the account that you're receiving those funds into, and this essentially is representing the most optimized and cost-efficient way for you to receive those payments. And on this page here, if you're not currently a customer, not a problem. There's a QR code there. Feel free to scan it with your camera. It will take you just to a contact form, which we will immediately receive. And then we can get in touch with you to talk about your business and how we can help. And yeah, that's it from me. Feel free to reach out. Happy to answer any questions. I see there's some questions here, so I'll just get started on these now. Okay, what's the difference between PayPal and Payoneer? So kind of similar, they seem different. They seem similar, B2B payments or just generally payments or cross-border payments. So the difference is the services that they provide. So PayPal don't offer local receiving bank accounts like I've just discussed. And equally, Payoneer doesn't offer some of the services that you'll get through PayPal. So it's just different types of payments. What I've talked about in this presentation is the type of cross-border payments that Payoneer supports. Is there any restrictions to open a Payoneer account? No, we can open an account for any business, any entrepreneur, as long as you're not in North Korea and a few other countries, but for 99% of the countries that you're based, we can support. How can we set up a Payoneer account? Is it necessary that you're dealing in B2B businesses and having NTN to avail the service for any individual? Not 100% sure that question, but to set up a Payoneer account, just scan the QR codes in the presentation, fill out the form, we'll be in touch with you and we'll be able to provide you with support in opening the account in the right way. Can you please share with us how we can set up a Payoneer account? So I've already answered that. We are using Shopify Singapore, but selling in the US. Shopify does not allow connecting to a Payoneer USD account in the US. We cannot set up unless we have a company. What would be the best? Yeah, good question. Sometimes if you're using Shopify payments rather than Stripe themselves directly, Shopify payments might be quite difficult in allowing you to switch different bank accounts. We can help you with that. So please just reach out and we can help try and find a way around that.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you for joining us today. And as NextSmartShip, we're really happy to work with you guys. And hopefully we can establish a long cooperation in the future. And thank you very much for your very informative speech today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So what do you care the most when you're just a startup, and how to source the right product to sell? So today we invited Richard Lobb, the CEO of Dragon Sourcing, who has over 20 years of consulting and industry experience across Europe. With years of experience in living in and working in China, Richard can share with us his best insights on sourcing from China. Let's welcome Richard.
Well, good day, everybody. I understand that I'm the last one for this exciting session. I'm going to have to go reasonably quickly through this because I do have a hard stop in 20 minutes, so bear with me. So very briefly, as indicated, yes, I'm the founder of Dragon Sourcing. We are a global sourcing company. We operate for most of the important supply markets, and of course, China is a key market, but not only in Southeast Asia, in India, in Eastern Europe, in Turkey, in Mexico, and some African countries. Historically, we've been working mainly for, I would say, large manufacturing companies, but increasingly we're now being approached and working for e-commerce companies. And so we're now stepping into the space with, a lot more accounts that we're working for in this particular area. And the kind of e-commerce company that we work for are the ones which are really interested in developing their own brands, their own products, as opposed to kind of having a Me Too strategy of sourcing catalog items. And that's where our strength is. If companies want to develop new products, brand them appropriately, and come up with a new exciting assortment and innovation, this is where we can help. If you're an e-commerce company buying Me Too catalog off-the-shelf type products, the sourcing is reasonably simple, and our value added would be, I suspect, somewhat reduced. So it's for those types of companies that the remarks I'm going to be making will be relevant. If you are really looking at an e-commerce setup to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, to design and develop and bring to market some new innovative products, and are looking for suppliers that are both willing and capable of supporting your strategy, this is where a company like Dragon Sourcing can probably add some value. And so what I'm going to do today is just give you, maybe based on our experience, as indicated in the short intro. I have personally been in sourcing for 25, 30 years. Dragon Sourcing has been at it for 15 years. And so we've helped a lot of companies source from China and elsewhere. And it's basically based on that experience that I'm going to share very rapidly what we consider to be some good practices if you want to try to source suppliers in some of these emerging markets. And to do that, I'm just going to share with you very rapidly a simplistic view of what it means to do sourcing. When we do sourcing, we should break it down into three distinct phases. The initial phase, which we call here the opportunity analysis, is really to try to get an understanding about who the suppliers might be, getting a lot of information about them, and maybe shortlisting 3 or 4 of them that could potentially be your most attractive partners. It usually breaks down into the key steps I've mentioned here. It's getting a good understanding of the requirements. So you need to have, good specifications that you can share with the suppliers. Then it's about identifying potential suppliers and the countries in scope. And then it's about collecting a lot of information from these suppliers using what we call an RFI, RFQ process, request for information, request for quotation. And once you've collected all of those RFIs, RFQs back, it's analyzing the responses of those suppliers that have responded in order to profile the suppliers and rank them in terms of attractiveness. So that's the initial phase you would need to go through. And the output of that initial phase is the shortlisting of 4 or 5 suppliers maximum that would potentially be the most attractive for you. And then the second phase is supply selection and contracting. There, the focus is trying to select 1 or 2 suppliers that will be your partners, your production suppliers, based on the 4 or 5 which have been shortlisted in the initial phase. So it's about auditing suppliers, critical to audit suppliers. If they're going to have to develop products for you, they're going to have to lay down molds for you. You want to make absolutely sure that the information you've collected about them is confirmed through your auditing of their facilities and talking to their management. If the audits are positive, then you want to go into, developing the product with them. You probably want to select 1 or 2 maximum, lay down some molds if you need some molds, get samples developed, get samples tested, and potentially modify your designs if you're not totally happy with the outcome of that initial iteration. But you go through the cycle of sample development and testing until you're happy that you've got a best-in-class product. And then after that, once that has been achieved, you go into final contract negotiations to agree terms and conditions in order to select the actual supplier you're going to be working with. That's phase number 2. And then you get into what we call procurement operations. That's basically the fulfillment cycle. You're placing orders with those selected suppliers, and you want to make sure that those selected suppliers or the selected supplier is producing and delivering on time, in quantity, and in quality. So it's about quality control. It's about logistics management. It's also about, even though I haven't mentioned it here right now, it's also about paying suppliers. And I know you've had some sessions today about how the whole payment cycle can be managed. I'm not going to spend any time on that right now. So that's the process that you've got to go through. And as you go through this process, you really have to be mindful of certain risks that you have as you're actually going through these different steps. So the first risk that you have is in the initial step. If you're developing a new product, and if you want to get suppliers to respond to your request reliably, it's very critical, very important to have a very complete data set of your specifications, of your compliance requirements, of your regulatory requirements to sell into the US or to sell into the EU. Because if you don't have that from the get-go, you're going to be asking suppliers to quote, asking suppliers to confirm they can actually make your product based on maybe what might be an incomplete data set, and hence potentially wasting a lot of time because you might be getting responses from suppliers who eventually might not be able to respond to your requirements. So before you start, you're going to be absolutely sure that you have really a good drawings, good specifications, full understanding of the compliance issues so that you can represent that effectively to the suppliers that you will be approaching. In the second step of the process, it's one of identifying potential suppliers. Let's assume that you come up to the conclusion that you want to do this in China. Well, in China, for many products, there are a lot of potential suppliers. It's a huge country, huge production capacity in that country, sometimes hundreds of potential suppliers. So what you have to do is really identify all the potential suppliers that could potentially make this product, because if you're missing out on some potential suppliers upfront, maybe you're missing out on who would be potentially the most attractive supplier for your business. So it's very important to cast a wide net, to identify all the potential suppliers in order to make sure that you're actually capturing the supplier that will eventually become the supplier that will be the best fit for your organization. And as you know, this is critical in this particular space of e-commerce. It's sometimes a challenge to get suppliers interested in your business. Launching a new product, the MOQs are going to be small. I mean, your MOQ requirements are going to be small, but very often Chinese suppliers have very high MOQ requirements. And so it's going to be really critical to find suppliers that have the willingness to support you and the willingness of doing the work they're going to have to do to respond to your questions when they're dealing with an e-commerce company that might be in a startup mode, it's not always that easy. So this phase is really critical to make sure that you're really identifying companies that understand the nature of your business, understand you're going to have small MOQs, and that are willing to support you, develop your business, and accompany you in a particular process. So this is really a critical phase when you're launching one of these enterprises. I'm going to skip the next two steps. The next two steps is about collecting a lot of information about these suppliers through an RFI, RFQ process, and then analyzing all that in order to shortlist suppliers which would be most appropriate for your needs. You know, if you have any questions about how to do that, you can, of course, at some point in time, contact us and we can support you in making that happen. If we go into the second phase, you know, you're going into the auditing phase. Like I said, this is really critical. You know, you're going to collect a lot of information about the suppliers, their engineering capabilities, their manufacturing capabilities, their willingness to support you in terms of MOQs, their payment terms as well is going to be a critical issue. But, you know, collecting information from the suppliers is one thing, but actually visiting them, sitting down with them, touring their manufacturing facilities, talking to their management is really critical to make sure there is a good understanding about your requirements and that they have a good understanding about, you know, the business you're launching and really motivating those suppliers to really support you. So auditing becomes critical to both for yourself, confirm that the suppliers are going to be fit for purpose, but also to really sometimes convince the suppliers that they really need to make an effort to support your business plan. And then manage sample development process. This is the most critical process, you know, and we have lots of experience in this when, you know, we're working with companies that are developing new products, innovative products. This is the one area where, you know, failure can occur because very often suppliers have the tendency of saying, we can do it. It's a kind of a can-do attitude, which in a way is good. But, you know, sometimes they've overstretched themselves and they've kind of said, yes, we can do it. But at the end of the day, when they actually have to produce and demonstrate that they can actually do it, you will find that quite frequently you know, they're having difficulty in actually make the product that you're hoping that they can make. It can be linked to the design you have. And so sometimes you're going to have to go into an iterative process with the suppliers to change your design, to make it more manufacturable and helping them, you know, maybe be able to actually make the kind of products you're looking to make. If the samples are good, then you have to go into final, you know, negotiations to agree terms and conditions and agree price. You also have to be wary here of this particular process. It can happen quite frequently that between the end of the opportunity phase, when you've received some quotes from suppliers and the time of final negotiations, that they will increase the price on you. They've come up with an initial quote in the initial phase, and then they've had to go through the process of developing the product, developing the sample. It's turned out to be more difficult than they had assumed. And they come back and they say, well, now the price is higher than what you had assumed. This happens quite frequently. You have to be prepared for this because it can have a significant impact, of course, on your business. Now you're looking to launch a product into the marketplace at a particular price point. Hence, you're looking to buy it at a particular price point. And after doing all this work, you just have to brace yourself for the fact that there could be that risk happening, that the suppliers will come back and say, sorry, we saw we could do it for $5, but now we can only do it for $7. And you have to, you know, be prepared for those types of situations. I'm going to skip this particular point because of time pressure. And then when you get into procurement operations, you know, it's one thing to have a supplier who can make a good sample, but it's a different thing in terms of having a supplier who can make that particular product in production volumes according to your quality requirements. So quality control becomes absolutely critical. So it's really important that you organize for a quality control company to come into the supplier's factory before the products are loaded onto the container to make absolutely sure that the products are fully compliant with your specifications. There's lots of good companies in China that can do QC for you. But it's really important to contact them, to inform them about the kind of QC you want them to provide, and to have them, deliver you a QC report before you can release the container from the supplier. And then logistics management is the last area, which I'm not going to spend too much time on either today because we do have some time constraints. But as you know, transportation costs now from China have gone through the roof. It's a major, major complication. The cost of containers have, augmented from, you used to basically be able to buy a container from China, a 40-foot container for $3,000-4,000. You now have to pay $20,000-25,000 for a container. It's having a major impact on your ability to source competitively from China. You have to keep that in mind. It's not only China, by the way, it's the whole of Asia. To the point where many, many companies now in the e-commerce space are thinking about sourcing elsewhere from China, because if these costs of transportation don't come down to more normal levels like it used to be a year ago, it is going to have a significant impact on the ability to source competitively from a market like China or from Southeast Asia or even from India. So keep that in mind, because logistics costs have literally gone through the roof right now. It's driven by COVID, driven by lack of containers in the marketplace. And it's very unlikely that this particular situation will change at least until Chinese New Year of 2022. So you've got to, the next 6 months are not going to see any improvement in terms of logistics coming in from Asia, whether to the EU or whether to the US. So, yeah. So apologies for having gone through very quickly through this, but I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to take you through the next 2 pages, and then open it up for a couple of questions if anybody have any questions. Yeah. I don't know if there are any questions or not.
Hi, Richard. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your sharing the information with us. And we do have a lot of questions here that people are very interested in your topics. So we got this question from Samantha, and she asked, so under the pandemic, what's the challenge that brings for the sourcing part?
Well, one of the key challenges, I've just described it, it's this whole logistics situation.
Yes.
The pandemic is the key driver of these high logistics costs, and so that definitely is making it a lot more difficult. A second challenge is, the ability to visit China. I mean, it's important to build relationship with the suppliers and to sit down with them and to build that relationship with them. Of course, in this particular pandemic situation, it's literally impossible to do. And so you need to rely on local people in China that can represent you, that can go and visit them in order to make that happen. But clearly it's, posing some challenges which weren't there previously.
Thank you for answering. And yes, I know you might have answered it before, but we still have this new question coming up from Jiajun Tan. And he asked about what's the best practice to perform a quality check when you're sourcing the products, especially like, for example, if it's in a bulk order.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to select a good QC company. There's many of them in China. Some well-known names from the Western world, companies like Bureau Veritas or SGS or Intertek. There's some very good local Chinese companies that provide very good QC services at a much lower cost than the Western companies. So you have to select the right company based on your product, because different QC companies sometimes have different experiences and different knowledge about different products. And then you have to explain to them carefully what criteria, what it is you want them to perform in their QC. Because every product, of course, has different characteristics, different parameters that need to be controlled. And so you need to spend a bit of time with them to explain what is really critical for you in terms of quality control. And then that's it. They will, they will perform that QC and issue a report to you showing what they've come up with in terms of QC at that particular company. And of course, the goods will not be released until you've given the go-ahead to the supplier to release the goods, until you're satisfied that the goods have met your quality requirements.
Thank you very much. And we also have another question from Julie, and she asked that many people sourcing from Alibaba or AliExpress, and she wants to know about your opinions on these two platforms, and which one do you think is like better in comparison?
Now, I would say both of them are good if you're looking to buy simple, off-the-shelf catalog items, because the likelihood that you can find the product that you want to buy is going to be very high. And, there's not going to be that much complication in terms of sorting that particular product. You've got to be careful still, because you know that on Alibaba, I know on Alipay as well, many suppliers are not manufacturers. They are traders or, in between type companies or individuals sometimes that are not really the manufacturers. My advice is always to buy from the manufacturer, because you're really buying from the source. So if you're buying a Me Too catalog off-the-shelf item, I don't really see much of an issue buying from Alibaba or Alipay. And I don't believe there is a huge difference between the two in terms of particular advantages or disadvantages. But if you're looking to develop a new product, my experience of e-commerce, I'm not a huge expert in e-commerce, but the people I see succeed in e-commerce are the ones that are coming out in the market with innovative products, not products which everybody can find on Alibaba and Alipay. They've designed something new and it's innovative, and they go out there finding a supplier that is willing and capable of developing a new product for that particular e-commerce company. If that's what you're looking to do, I would not do that on Alibaba and I would not do that on Alipay. You'd have to go through the structured process I was just describing in order to find you a supplier that will work with you for months. We're working for some clients in e-commerce, and it sometimes takes us 6, 7, 8, 9 months to fully develop a product range that is innovative, exciting, well-designed, that can have an impact into the marketplace. And that you will never succeed in doing in Alibaba and Alipay.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. So nowadays, for e-commerce sellers, we are looking for the perfect fulfillment solutions that let you ship cross-border with ease, especially during the pandemic. How can NextSmartShip help you fulfill your orders? Let's welcome John Stone, our partner and the head of marketing at NextSmartShip. He will introduce new fulfillment products which are designed to elevate your business. Let's welcome John.
Say hi to all of you who are watching this right now. And it was such a delight when think about the fact that you're from every corner of the world and we're sharing here as a community. My name is John Stone and I'm the partner and head of NextSmartShip, the organizer of today's event, and also a tech-centered local fulfillment powerhouse that strives to help DTC brands or online merchants to grow your e-commerce empire into the next big thing. And so what I'm about to share today is Fulfillment 101, basically all the basic stuff that you need to understand about fulfillment. So the way how I'm going to introduce this is I'm going to have this part elaborated through a few frequent asked questions so that you can have a basic understanding of the process, of the key facts, and of the do's and don'ts, basically about fulfillment. Okay, let's get started. The first and foremost question that a lot of people will ask is, what is fulfillment? And what are the differences between fulfillment and logistics? So to understand that, I want to introduce that. I'm going to cut that into two parts. Firstly, the difference exists in the service range. As you may understand, logistics normally is just store and deliver your products. But fulfillment, it's a larger concept covering more actions and more benefits for merchants. including like store, pick, pack, repack, kit, assemble products and design the packages, etc. A lot of stuff, anything you can imagine actually. And another difference, major difference for these two types of business model or two different types of companies are the core resources for them separately. So let's see, for logistic, we all can understand for logistic companies, the core resource lies with their warehouse or the space where you can store all these products. But for a fulfillment like company like us, the situation is way more different. It's maybe more than you can imagine that actually the first and foremost core resource for us is the IT infrastructure. So you have to have a very strong IT infrastructure to support all the services that you can provide to your customers. So that's the first core resource that we have, or for any fulfillment company. And another thing is the philosophy actually to serve clients really with a very proactive attitude. That's also very important and actually composed as a key resource for any company like us as well. And the third thing definitely is a very solid courier network. So you have to have a very wide and deep courier network, so to provide a stable and flexible logistics service for your clients. So these two parts are the key differences between the concept of fulfillment and the concept of logistics. So that's the first thing. And if I take NextSmartShip as an example, we actually have like near 10 fulfillment centers global wise, but these fulfillment centers, they does not compose as our key strengths. So instead, our key strengths lies with the new SaaS system that we're gonna launch in October, and also lies with our attitude to always walk an extra mile for our clients, and as well as our over 50 top courier partners worldwide. So this echoes what I explained for the differences between these two types of companies. And then another question a lot of people will ask is, why do e-commerce, especially direct to customer brands, regardless of their sizes, always need a fulfillment partner? This is yet a very good question as well. So to understand that, let me introduce you of two facts. The first one is 90% of online sellers, they're small to medium size only. So those big names only exist at a very small portion. And less than 0.2% of Shopify sellers are dealing with fulfillment by themselves. This is some data according to our own analysis and our own data in the past few years. So why all these merchants, online merchants, they choose a third-party fulfillment or a third-party logistic company or partner to help them to deal with the fulfillment parts? Because normally fulfillment, like I said, is a very large concept. So it can involve very complicated process and requires super heavy operation and manpower. And especially when your products are manufactured in a different location. So if you're selling in the US, but if your products are made here in China or in any parts of the other world, or any parts of the world, elsewhere, they're gonna actually compose a very hard issue for you to tackle if you're gonna deal with that by yourself. And also, especially when you require customization, because all the procedures, except for logistic, all the other procedures that I mentioned, like you want to redesign the package, you want to take the products out of the original package and then put it in another new package or new customized package even. So these processes actually are quite complicated. The whole process that you need to find the right manpower, the right resources to have the packages ready or have the facilities ready for doing all these sorts of stuff. So it's kind of very, very hard stuff for any merchants to deal with by themselves. That's actually the reason why not a lot, but most of the online merchants are handling the fulfillment part with a third-party partner. So the benefit, obviously, you can get from if you're working with a fulfillment partner, is to save much of the trouble in extremely complicated calculation of all the data and all the prices from different vendors or different logistic partners, and then save great trouble in communication with all these multi-ends or with all these channels, and then save great trouble as well with the micromanagement of the team necessary to support all these work if you're doing it in-house. So in general, to find a fulfillment partner helps you to focus on your product development and marketing instead of spending all these efforts and energy in dealing with this complex yet less effective stuff for your business in general. Yeah. And the next question a lot of people would ask is, what is the price and how is the price and delivery time of a fulfillment company compared to that of a traditional logistic courier? It's a hard question, actually. So I'm going to answer it straightforwardly. In terms of the delivery time, it's the same, because traditional logistic couriers are mostly the vendors for fulfillment companies like us. For example, like I said, NextSmartShip, we have over 50 top courier partners, and this secures us the same delivery time. But in terms of the price, since I mentioned there are actually a lot of extra services and resources involved in the process. So normally you would think the price would be higher, but actually it really depends on different companies. So for NextSmartShip, most of our prices are even cheaper because of the congregated volume we have, because the AI process or the capabilities enabled by our new SaaS system, and also because of the bargaining power that we possess here in China. So all of these things makes our price cheaper be impossible. And then comes to the next question is, what kind of customization can a fulfillment company provide? So as a business, as a new business, or as mostly a startup business, I mean, actually the requirements of customization lies in two ends. One is when you just started as a new company or new brand, and the other is when you actually has already reached a certain level of business income. So you're already a very big brand. So these two types of companies normally they require the most of a customization. So for a fulfillment company like us, what we can provide actually is the possibilities are just endless. It's basically anything that you can imagine, from sourcing product to the end of delivery. I mean, within this process, anything that you can imagine basically can be done by a fulfillment company like us. But still, again, the actual service content provided by a fulfillment company varies with different companies. Let me take NextSmartShip as one example again. We do whatever we think that can help our clients to gain exceptional growth. For example, like just this last month, we released our a brand new green packaging solution, actually covering all types of different green materials at different cost levels that can really help most of our clients to hop to a green journey, which we believe would differentiate themselves and help these brands to win their customers' hearts. In another case in point is in this month, in September this year, we're going to launch a new insurance product pretty soon in the same purpose, just to help our clients to gain exceptional growth. These are all the things that probably you don't, I mean, you never imagined, but still, these are all the stuff that a fulfillment company like us can do. And the next question is, why do we need a fulfillment partner operating global warehouses, especially in China? Now, why is that? I'll give you some facts first. Firstly, very few online merchants have their own, storage space to store that many products, as well as very few online merchants have their own team, in-house team, to deal with the fulfillment part, like elaborated for the previous questions. But at the same time, more online merchants, especially direct to customer sellers. They're targeting global consumers instead of just the local ones. So with this said, owning or having worked with a fulfillment partner operating global warehouses, it can give you the flexibility to grow right from the start until you become a big seller. And at that time, you still have the stability of delivery because of the the bandwidth of a fulfillment company is normally it's quite flexible. And then also to work with a fulfillment partner, it can gives you the ability to segmentize your products or marketing strategies based on geometrics. To work with the fulfillment partner having the reach of global warehouses, this actually gives you the ability to segmentize your products or marketing strategies based on geometrics. And finally, it lowers the overall logistic operational cost via inventory split, because you have to have all these multiple warehouses globally. So to make it possible to split your inventory in different warehouses and to reduce your general or overall logistic cost. So these are the the values of working with a fulfillment partner who has global reach in different parts of the world. And I think to make it more a little bit clearer, I'll give you one example here. Like for example, let's say if you're a US apparel brand with products manufactured here in China, and right at the beginning when you were a small brand still, and you can send these products directly from China, from our China Master Center, with no MOQ requirement and a 30-day free storage period. So during this period, when you still are a small brand and you're growing, you can send products directly from our China Master Center to your global destinations or consumers. But as the volume grows and you reach a certain level, so at that time, you can try to split your inventory into our 3 fulfillment centers. For example, let's see if our SaaS system tells you that most of your products are sold into three major destinations. One is the European Union, the other one is USA, and the rest just dispatched very sparsely to other parts of the world. So in this situation, our SaaS system will suggest you to split your product or inventory into these 3 warehouses. One in the EU, one in the US, and the other one to stay in China. So with this method, now you send the estimated volume of the products 1 month before to the European Union center and to the US center via ship, so to decrease your overall cost. So in the end, the benefit is that the customers can enjoy a lower price and a faster delivery experience, and you can enjoy a lower operational cost and overall operational cost. And most of the same add-on services actually provided as provided in our China Master Center. For example, like kitting, assembling, repacking, even insert promotional materials or promotional cards in the packages that you're sending out. Or you can even provide the return services in those with those different fulfillment centers that you're using at that time. So basically, these are all by this case, I want to emphasize that to have a fulfillment partner operating global warehouses is crucial important for any brand. So be it a small brand or a large brand, to gain the flexibility as well as the stability, you always need a fulfillment partner like this, because you don't want to actually change these fulfillment companies or vendors like on a daily basis or even on a monthly basis. It's too troublesome for any brand. Okay, let's come to the next question is, why do we need a fulfillment partner operating global? Oh, that's actually the second part for the same question. Why do we need a fulfillment partner operating global warehouses, especially in China? Why is that? Why especially in China? Because this actually comes true when your products are manufactured in China, but sold globally. So this time you don't actually need to ship your products to all these different locations in the world in a container and then dispatch these products locally. That's not a cost-effective way for you to do business, especially as a starter. So when you start a business, you simply, and also in the scenario that these products are sourced or manufactured here in China, the best solution for you is simply to have a fulfillment partner who have a warehouse actually in China and to do all the customizations for you and then send these products to your global customers. That's the easiest and the cheapest solution for you. And here, I would like to also introduce a little bit more about our China Master Center, what we call it as the Master Center of NextSmartShips. This center actually has 10,000 square meters. Sorry, I just made a terrible mistake. Almost 10,000 square meters, and it sits in exactly as where we are right now in Shenzhen, China. And in this warehouse, or fulfillment center, we have many AGV robots that helps us with the daily operation. So it's actually increased the accuracy of the daily operation, and it helps us to improve the whole efficiency in dispatching or in warehouse operations. And this warehouse actually it covers 97% of the world with average delivery time of 5 to 10 days. And it does all kinds of add-on services as I introduced, but at a much lower cost compared to all the other possibilities that you might have. So these are exactly the reason why you need a fulfillment partner operating global warehouses here, especially here in China. And another question would be, why is IT system the most important for a fulfillment company? It's simple, because if it's most important for our clients, then it's most important for us. Why it's most important for our clients or for any online merchants or for any DTC brands? Simply because with the strong and super powerful SaaS system or IT infrastructure, you can have a super performance in terms of the time efficiency with all those integrations with different platforms, Shopify, Ecommerce, the ERP, the CRM system that you're currently using. It can really improve your time efficiency in managing the whole business. And at the same time, it provides you with the stability in the business operations, because with a powerful and flexible SaaS system, it doesn't require any specific volume. It doesn't require you to provide with us with a certain occupation of our bandwidth. So this is simply to put it, no MOQ requirement can only be made with the existence of a super powerful SaaS system. And last but not least, is the cost efficiency. So our system, here I have to mention that we have a brand new SaaS system, a very powerful SaaS system, even for dummies, coming in this October. So you're gonna hear more about that system pretty soon, probably in this month or next month. So with that system, it can help you to provide to your customers different shipping options, like the cheapest, the fastest, and the medium, definitely with different quotations for them to choose. And another brilliant thing this system can help you to do is to help you to plan your global inventory split with a data forecast even. So as I already mentioned previously, this is something that an IT system can do. So with all these three values that can provide to you, that's the reason why IT system is most important for any online merchants, or especially for DTC brands. So that's actually expresses the reason why it's super important, or even the most important for a fulfillment company like us, because it's important, or the most important for our clients. Simple like that. Okay, let's hop to the next one. What is the Euro process to work with the fulfillment company? Okay, so this I'm just gonna skip this in a very fast pace, and simply you reach out to a certain company, a fulfillment company, And for example, like reach out to us, and then we have some rough or detailed communication about your requests and help you to understand better about our business. And then you're going to receive a customized proposal. And once you're satisfied with that, and we help you to set up an account, and you can then connect your online store with our applications, either in Shopify store, Shopify App Store, or in any other app stores out there in other marketplaces. And then you can start to send the products to our warehouse, to our fulfillment centers. And then we do whatever requested by you. Like we pick, pack, and do all the other add-on services in our warehouse or fulfillment center. And then we ship that products directly to your customers. Yeah, and within that latter process, you can have all the tracking information in our system and provide, your customers can as well have these tracking informations at the same time, like in a very streamlined process. So it's pretty simple and easy. So before I close this introduction about the Fulfillment 101, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about NextSmartShip. I already said that we're a tech-centered logistic powerhouse. We started actually from 2019. So we're a pretty young company, but we have been helping thousands of global DTC brands, including many startups, to gain exceptional growth via our professional, stable, and affordable fulfillment services. And currently we deliver over 1 million packages per year to global destinations. And by the way, most of our clients currently are from US, from European Union, from Southeast Asia, these other regions, instead of from where we are based right now in China. So we've helped our clients achieve multiple targets and performance optimization results. These are like we have coverage of 97% of worldwide destinations, and we help our clients to achieve 67% increase in repeated orders. That's crucial for online sellers or merchants, and the other stuff as well, like 40% cheaper on savings. If you don't believe that, just send us an email or open that dialogue with us and to see whether here all these data are justified. We're trusted by thousands of merchants, like I said. What's special about us? I just browse these page by page. I won't be dive into details for each of them. We're a global company, meaning that we have the bandwidth, we have the ability to deal with the local orders as well, like in the US with our EU fulfillment centers, with our Japan fulfillment center, Australia fulfillment center, all these centers, we can do the local dispatch and the and add-on services in the local warehouse as well. And the smarter and more powerful free SaaS, yeah, I have to mention that it's free, because if you're actually purchasing a SaaS system from a third-party provider, normally it's going to cost you at least thousands of US dollars per year. And we have a very highly rated after-sales team to solve your problem, any kinds of problem actually. And it also in a very streamlined after-sales or problem-solving process. So you won't feel bothered all the time. Yeah, and as a closer for my introduction today, I have to, for my sharing today, I have to emphasize that we as NextSmartShip, we are a team that always think ahead and always walk an extra mile for our clients. Simply because we prioritize your growth as our first task. And we think only in that way can we grow together with our clients, and can we really achieve our own growth in the long run. So just treat us as your in-house team who really listen to your feedbacks, listen to your requests really, and prioritize your growth as our first task. Just a highlight of the team of ours. Okay, I think this is all for my sharing today, and I'd like to see if there's any questions that I can help to answer.
Thank you so much, John. And we do receive a lot of questions regarding to NextSmartShip Fulfillment Center. So now I would like to read through, and I know that there are some questions you might already mentioned in your PowerPoint. And we have Francis here, and he asked about what's the criteria, like when we choose a fulfillment service supplier, like what's the most important part that people want to pay attention on?
What is the criteria when you select a fulfillment partner? Like I said, I think we think actually the core resources for a fulfillment company would lie with its strong IT infrastructure or the SaaS system it can provide to its customers. And then the attitude, the philosophy, whether this company have a philosophy to always walk an extra mile to really serve the clients. And then whether this company have a very strong, wide and deep courier network. So these are three of the key resources I think crucial for a fulfillment company. So when you select a fulfillment company, just pay attention to all those above mentioned three criteria. It's going to save you a lot of time.
Thank you so much. And we also have Edward here, and he asked, what do you think about the differences between NextSmartShip comparing to the other fulfillment centers?
Again, I would actually step on the same thing that I just mentioned. Like we have, we're actually about to have a very super powerful and easy to use, even for dummies, the SaaS system. And also this SaaS system actually has many AI abilities. It can provide you with some real case, real world business suggestions, how to split your inventory into our global warehouses to decrease your overall logistic cost and to improve your customers' experience, how to provide to your customers with different shipping options, with different prices, but different shipping time. These are all like AI powered abilities. So the IT system that we're going to provide to our customers, that's a first and foremost thing, which differentiates NextSmartShip from other players in the market. And second thing is, I think it's also crucially important is that we actually care about our clients. So all the questions that I just put in today's sharing, it's not just like a random questions that I came up with by myself, but actually the questions that we see and hear on a daily basis from thousands of our clients. And the case that I just shared, the new grain packaging solution that we launched last month, and also the insurance product, the new insurance product that we're about to launch this month. All these products actually came up not just by random thoughts, but actually by a mutual or by some in-depth discussion with our clients. And that's the reason why we set the, for example, like the grain packaging solution, we set it at different cost levels, and not just just in one extreme direction to make it super green and super environmental friendly, but with very high cost. Nobody can bear it. So we considered a lot of factors through the discussion and the feedback with our clients. So that's a second thing I think very important, that is we really care and we hear our clients, either complaints or nice comments for us. We welcome all these things and we speak them quite frankly to all of our clients. So that's the second thing. And the third difference that we have is a really wide and in-depth courier network. So we have a very good relationship with all these couriers, and we're actually building up a even stronger and a wider network with all these partners. And thank you. And I have to say thank you to all these partners as well, because it's not easy for a fulfillment company to work with so many good and top couriers all at the same time. So thank you for all of them.
Thank you so much, John, for your detailed information about NextSmartShip and how its system works. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. If you have some brilliant ideas and want to put your dreams and innovations into reality, but unsure if it's going to be successful, you could raise funds through a crowdfunding campaign. A successful campaign could make your business dreams come true. So today, we invited Stacy Bradford, the hardware manager from Indiegogo, to share his insights on how it's done. So let's welcome Stacy.
Hey guys, I'm Stacy. I'm a senior manager and senior hardware manager at Indiegogo. In my tenure here at Indiegogo, I've led a company initiative, which was expanding our energy and green tech category into great effect. And in my tenure here, I've raised over $30 million on the platform. So today, we will be discussing, you can go ahead and share my entire screen. I'm sure you guys don't care about the tabs that I have open. So give me 1 second here, present. So yeah, today we're going to be discussing breaking into global markets with crowdfunding. So give me 1 second here. Let me fix this, got some stuff. Hold on, guys. I'm so sorry. These are my first sips of coffee today. So now, who is Indiegogo? Indiegogo, we are one of the world's largest crowdfunding platforms. We work with startups of all stripes, all the way to existing, Fortune 500 companies to launch new products and brands and break into the international market. We're in 237 countries. We've hosted almost 1 million campaigns. Entrepreneurs have raised over $2 billion on our platform. And we have 18 million monthly active users. That number is a little bit old. I would say it's probably closer to 20. So now, who is our audience? So our audience is primarily comprised of early adopters, as you can see here. And then from early adopters, you also have the early majority as well. And as you can see here, these are their different pain points and motivating factors. So now, what differentiates us from our competitor, which is Kickstarter? So Indiegogo, we are home to hardware, tech, and design. Kickstarter, while a great platform, they are more focused on comic books, games, video games, creative endeavors, board games. And so campaigns on Indiegogo, hardware, tech, and design, they raise more money. And it's because we have an audience that's suited for them. In fact, 80% of all of our funds on our platform go to hardware, tech, and design. That number is about a little bit less than 40% on Kickstarter. And a lot of it has to do with guaranteed promotional support. So in channels like our newsletter, which is emailed out several times a week to several million backers, there's social media posts, the front page, any number of ways that we can assist your campaign. Now, what features do we have to help you? So this is going to be very important, is we have Facebook Pixel and Google Analytics embedded in our product. Kickstarter does not. And this means it's going to allow you to get the most out of your advertising spend, but more importantly, we empower you with data to not just understand your campaign, but why it's performing in the manner that it is. This way, that's the key distinction of why campaigns raise more funds on Indiegogo, and why in the 2 years that I've been here, each year we've had more $100,000 campaigns, more $1 million campaigns in Kickstarter. And then finally, you'll have access to my team members and then myself as well. So crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is now the default go-to market strategy, especially for hardware companies. And this was really proven during COVID when everything else shut down. So, and why is it the default? Well, because customers pay for your manufacturing. But there are also a couple other reasons why you might want to crowdfund, particularly attract capital and partners, secure distribution, and then also over here in the top left, product validation. Okay, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. A lot of people think it's easy. To that, I would say, no, it isn't. It's very challenging, especially when you're entering new markets. So what's the strategy here? The strategy, as I was saying, people think if you build it, they'll come. Incorrect. So crowdfunding isn't magic, it's marketing. So how do you do it right? All right, so there are 5 steps to the process, and this is just the overview, right? So number 1, you want to make a plan. You gotta have a plan. And then step 2, you want to secure the right talent. And I know a lot of people think, well, I hired, all these great people, they've done great work for us in the past, etc. We generally do recommend working with partners for crowdfunding, especially if it's your first campaign, because crowdfunding is kind of its own animal. And it's, especially your first campaign, you want to make for sure you're doing it right. So now step 3, you want to lock in product positioning. And then 4 is build your materials. So, all of your assets, your campaign page, social media, etc. And then ultimately, you need to figure out how to drive traffic. All right, let's discuss the plan first. So how long does a crowdfunding campaign take? Well, here's the moment from when you decide to crowdfund. So that's 2 to 3 months. Between launch and the campaign ending, that's 60 days. And then you'll receive your funds in 15 business days. And I am not a scientist, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the 60 days and the 15 days, I don't believe that's to scale. And now receive funds and then ship products. So ultimately, the product decide to crowdfund to when you ship can be anywhere from 4 to 12 months. Now, scaling your timeline and budget based on your goals. So your timeline should be pre-launch, should be about 1 to 3 months at a minimum. And your pre-launch, by the way, I don't believe this isn't in my slides, and I very much want to point this out, is the fact that there's a certain impulse out there with entrepreneurs to define yourself at a launch date instead of a launch window. It's more appropriate to launch when you're ready instead of tying yourself into a launch date. I've seen that is most certainly an unforced error and something that can really hold back the trajectory of your campaign once launched. Now, how much of a budget do you need? That would be whatever. So there are 2 types of goals. There's your internal funding goal, which is what you are internally looking to raise, 100K, 200K, $1 million plus, whatever. Now, then there's a public goal, and that's what's on your campaign page. And of those 2, we recommend having 20% of whatever you're looking to raise. That's your internal number. So have 20% of whatever that number is reserved for marketing. Now, launch with. You want to launch with a working prototype at the very least. We will not promote concepts or abstract ideas. We need to have at least a prototype. You want to make for sure that your audience is engaged and excited. This is very important because when you launch, your campaign. So that audience needs to be robust, eagerly anticipating your launch, but most importantly, sizable enough that it can support your funding goals. Because when you press publish and your campaign goes live, your community needs to deliver 30% or more of your internal funding goal within the first 48 hours of your campaign being live. And you also want to make for sure you can secure manufacturing, which is something that we can also help you with in the event that you need. So talents, this is what I was talking about earlier. There's a certain inclination of entrepreneurs to DIY. Again, look at all the different things that you're going to need over here. So you're going to need copywriting, graphic design, landing page setup, product photography, social media, and you can see the rest down here. A lot of that these are the roles you're going to need. So some of this can be handled in-house, but again, working with partners is the best way to position yourself for your campaign and mitigate the risk around your campaign. Now, here's your team. All right. So as I was saying, figure out what you can do DIY, and then what you can't do, outsource with partners, especially video creation. Video and asset creation are important factors. You don't want to shoot on. To date myself, you don't want to shoot it doesn't have a camera. I was going to say Nokia 5165, but you don't want to shoot on an old phone is what I'm saying. And you want to make for sure that it's professionally done. You want factors to consider here: cost, time to launch, and team expertise. So ranges for partner cost, video, that can sometimes be anywhere more than 10K. I would say definitely the range is 5 to 30K. Now, digital advertising, of course, budget, we talked about that a moment ago, 20% of your target goal. Crowdfunding agency, working with an agency, there's going to be an upfront fee, anywhere from 5 to 20K, and they're also going to have a take rate of 5 to 15%. PR is a case-by-case basis. I personally don't recommend PR unless you're unless you are for certain and poised to raise over, say, $500,000, but especially $1 million plus campaigns. But in the event that you need, feel inclined to commit yourself to it, it's 2K to 12K right there. So now product positioning. All right, this is a great picture of a door. Cool. All right, these are great pictures. This is a great picture of a shoe. Again, cool. All right, so what I'm saying is what you want to be selling is this right here. All right, you want to be selling the journey. This is something that you can actually identify with, put yourself in, and it's an aspiration, okay? Not so much an object. Again, so we want to sell this and not so much the door. Although I do really like pictures of doors, and that probably would make for a very good coffee table book. Again, the shoe. So now, clear product marketing basics, right? What amazing experience does your product enable? You want to make for sure you have that. What problem are you solving? You most certainly want to identify your target customer audience and why you instead of a competitor. And I'm going to go ahead and add one more point here that is specific to crowdfunding. Tell your story. Our early adopters, that's why they come to Indiegogo. They want to know your story and feel connected to your brand and feel as if they have an influence on this moment of your campaign and your brand, but also the trajectory of your company itself. So this is an example of a campaign that did all of those things really well. So here, good asset creation. And again, no need to look at your phone for texting and navigating. You can see the problem that they've solved. Now, content. So we were discussing this earlier. Asset creation, very important. Yeah. So how long should your video be? It says there 2 minutes and 30 seconds or less. but I'm going to give you a pro tip, 90 seconds or less. 90 seconds, the average campaigner spends about, or excuse me, backer spends about 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes on your campaign page, and you don't want it totally consumed by the video. So there are different kinds of videos, as you can see there. Now, product photography. So product photography is going to be important. You need your videos, or excuse me, your GIFs, your stills, etc. Now, you want to make for sure you get it at multiple angles. And most importantly, highlight this, circle it, whatever you want to do here. Lifestyle shots, lifestyle shots, lifestyle shots. You want to make for sure that your audience can see themselves using your product, service, etc., and identify with that. Now, obviously, a prototype gallery. Now, how do you structure your campaign page? Okay, at the top of the page, that's what we call, wait for it, top of the line. So, and there you're going to have your campaign title, your tagline, and a product introduction. Okay, underneath that, you're going to have what is essentially the body, the story, depending upon who you speak to. And that's going to, obviously, you're going to need to have a very strong top. So that showcases your features, use cases, technical specifications team, timeline, etc. Now, your perk strategy over here on your right, you want to make for sure that your product pricing is enticing. The reason why our early adopters come to Indiegogo is because they're looking for a deal in exchange for the delayed gratification of waiting to see their product. And you want to make for sure you ratchet up your pricing over time. So the Baby Maker, this right here, this is a campaign I co-launched with one of my colleagues. It set the company record for most funds raised. And as you can see here, they have a very strong top of line, as I was just speaking about. So you can see the Baby Maker, they have their tag, amount of funds raised. Now here, this is MadeX, another great e-bike that launched on our platform and raised a bunch of money. So they raised 8 figures on our platform. And as you can see here, this is the body. And they do it very well. You can see their features, look at these great assets, etc. Earlier we were talking about PR. PR provides a third-party product validation that I think is that, as you can see here, if you got it, flaunt it. So showcase your PR. And then also, testimonials. Testimonials are very powerful, and in most cases can push anyone that may be on the fence over that fence and turn that fence sitter into a conversion. So now traffic. All right. Understanding what works before launch. And this is very important. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about us having Facebook Pixel and Google Analytics embedded in our product. All right. Indiegogo empowers you with the understanding of why. All right. So understand why your campaign is performing the way it does. Empower yourself with data, especially in the beginning. Because when you empower yourself with data in the beginning, this is going to be information and empirical data that can inform your decisions down the line and be something that you can lean on, again, for decisions, re-optimization, targeting, etc. Now, plan your traffic. All right, so before launch, you have the email collection on a landing page, which is obviously you want to have a very strong call to action on that landing page. Now, you want to have great social content, very important. So one of the key factors of why campaigns raise more funds, they keep their audience engaged with a lot of content. That is something that the Baby Maker campaign was phenomenal at. Now, engaging friends and family, sure, you want to engage your friends and family, but your friends and family is going to be, I don't know about you guys, I have a fairly large network, but even my network, friends, family, etc., is not going to be enough to really support the goals of my campaign. So you want to make for sure that you have great content. Now, after the launch, you want to press articles. You want to make for sure that you have your PR, your blog posts, social referral, again, but playing your traffic, Facebook, Instagram, drive off platform conversions. In order to secure PR, you want to make for sure that you have at least some samples. They are, and most likely samples, it's unlikely that they're going to send these back to you. So make for sure that you can part with those samples. Use digital advertising. I don't think that this should be any surprise to anyone. I've spoken about this throughout this presentation, but again, Facebook and Instagram, and to a lesser extent, Google. TikTok's coming online. We're looking for ways to explore that, but those are the three main channels. I'll call it channel. I guess tier 1A and B would be Facebook, Instagram, and then tier 2, Google. Discounts can drive conversions, but margins pay for traffic. So right there is, I guess, I almost called it a paradox. I've been thinking about other stuff. That right there is the trade-off that you really need to consider here. Discounts drive conversions, the margins pay for traffic. All right. So next is, if you're looking to launch a campaign at Indiegogo or a crowdfunding campaign in general, just email me. I'm very friendly. You can email me, Stacy@indiegogo.com. If you have questions, whatever you want. Also, if you wanted to challenge me to a Scrabble game, something like that, I wouldn't mind it. So that said, I will turn the floor over for Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much, Stacy, and for your very interesting and informative presentation. And we do have a lot of viewers who are interested in your topics, and they've left many questions for you. And so we got one question from Alana. Let me have a quick look here. And Alana asked, where do most of the crowdfunding projects produce the products?
Well, it depends. So, if it is for hardware, tech, and design, there are a number of products, right? Or excuse me, there are a number of components that can be, that need to be sourced. Generally, most of the sourcing, depending upon the campaigns and various values, is mostly sourced and then manufactured in China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And we have another questions here. And I know you might have already mentioned that in your PowerPoint, and I'm just going to read through the questions. So we have one question here from Peter. And Peter asked, after completing the products and the promotion videos that he promotes, and should he find a marketing agency or Indiegogo to help them to, do the marketing and onwards?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Marketing is the most fundamental aspect to a crowdfunding campaign. As I had mentioned in my slide, crowdfunding isn't magic, it's marketing. It's very important to have an agency, to be working with a partner that has a proven track record of success. That said, there are a lot of agencies out there, and not all of them are created equal. So if you have any questions about which agency to work with, I very much email me. My email is right there. I will answer any of your questions. Indiegogo, we also have an internal marketing team as well. And given that you're working with the platform that you're launching on, they're highly sought after, and in turn have limited bandwidth. But again, email me and we can, begin the conversation.
Yeah, sure, no problem. And due to the timing, and we have one last question that we can ask during this meeting. So we have a Rebecca. She asked that if her product is somehow it's ordinary and very common product, do you think it would be a good idea to place a promotion from Indiegogo?
Sure. It's a tough question because, an ordinary product can be any number of things, right? It could be, journal or a pen. It depends on if it's a hardware, tech, and design, or ordinary hardware, tech, and design product. It's really hard to say if it's launchable on Indiegogo without knowing more details. But ultimately, Indiegogo is a place for new product launches. So ideally, there would be some kind of innovation there that one can't find anywhere else. But I would love to learn more. You said it was Rebecca, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to learn more, Rebecca. Again, I've said this a couple of times. Email me, stacy@indiegogo.com. More than happy to learn more about your product launch.
Okay, thank you so much, Stacey, for your very best presentation today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, and thank the audience for your time. And I want to most certainly thank everyone here at NextSmartShip for allowing me to attend.
Thank you so much. Okay, so selling products globally to increase sales is a brilliant idea. And many e-commerce sellers are thinking of entering the European markets. And there are many things we need to be aware of before entering the market, regardless of the taxes and customs clearance. So let's welcome John Cheswell, the cross-border solution manager from Avalara, to show us the way. Welcome to board.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I'm really pleased to be here today, and thanks very much to NextSmartShip for giving Avalara the opportunity to speak with you all. My name is John Chiswell, and I'm a cross-border solutions manager with Avalara. Avalara offer compliance solutions for various transaction taxes, including sales and use, VAT, customs duties, and many other tax types. I'm going to be discussing the recent changes to EU e-commerce, primarily the Import One-Stop Shop, or iOS, and the benefits that this service can bring to retailers with customers within the EU. Okay. So today we're going to be discussing the EU e-commerce VAT package to give you an idea of what this is, what's involved, and how it could benefit you. We'll also look at the key stages within the iOS flow, highlighting what needs to be done by the supplier, and also the benefits to the customer. Obviously, there are some changes which need to be made to get iOS up and running. So we're going to look at the challenges of implementing iOS. It is a different setup to the current MO. So here we're going to run through what each of these are and why they're important. Then we'll look at the benefits of iOS. This section opens up more for you, the retailer, on how iOS can support your business growth plans, streamline your European sales, and improve your customer satisfaction. And finally, we'll run through a checklist of all that you need to get this up and working for you. So, the EU e-commerce VAT package. The e-commerce package introduced changes from the 1st of July 2021 in respect of the movement of goods from Northern Ireland to the EU and imports of low-value goods into the EU or Northern Ireland. The VAT e-commerce package facilitates cross-border trade, combats VAT fraud, and ensures fair competition for EU businesses. Businesses can benefit from a substantial reduction in cross-border VAT compliance costs which should facilitate greater cross-border trade. So what is iOS? The Import One-Stop Shop is an electronic portal that businesses can use as of the 1st of July to comply with their VAT e-commerce obligations on distance sales of imported goods. Goods are low value where they are in consignments with an intrinsic value not exceeding 150 euros. Prior to the 1st of July 2021, no import VAT had to be paid for commercial goods with a value up to 22 euros. The new VAT e-commerce rules abolished this provision as of the 1st of July. Thus, from the 1st of July, all commercial goods imported into the EU are subject to VAT irrespective of their value. So in the next part there, we can see the green shipping channel. This is quite a key part for retail. This simplification with iOS allows you to exempt the VAT payment at customs because you're displaying and charging VAT at the point of sale to the customer, which means goods will have a smoother transition through customs than previous DAP or DDP models. Next, we have the simplified reporting. Obviously, you can see here, you're required to report and remit sales on a monthly basis for all 27 countries in one simplified return. A good example here is if you had 10 sales to each of the 27 countries, you would have a total of 270 sales. Without the iOS scheme, you would need to be registered in each country and make a separate return for each one. Using iOS, you can complete a single return for all 270 sales to one single country, who then distribute the appropriate sales tax to each country. So it does make a big difference. It makes it a lot more simplistic for you as a retailer. And finally, as you can see at the bottom, what else has changed? We discussed before the removal of the threshold for the lower value goods. So goods under 22 euros delivered to EU customers, this has been removed and now they're all eligible for tax. So the process flow. Here we can have a look at what the iOS process looks like and what you need to do. So you can see step one, the customer orders the product, you display and charge VAT to the customer at the checkout. This is a key part of the process and one which would need some work from you as the retailer. The reason is due to the variation of VAT rates in each EU country. For example, Croatia's VAT rate is 25%, whilst Poland is 23% and Germany 19%. To accurately display and charge VAT, you need to ensure that you're using the correct rates for each of the 27 countries based on the customer's location at the time of purchase. A key point of note here, Avalara's AvaTax engine can accurately calculate duty and tax at the point of checkout based on the product being sold. Our system operates at the point of checkout to provide the customer with a transparent duty and tax inclusive cost for all products, removing any nasty surprises for the customer when they receive their goods. So moving to step two, you provide your carrier with your iOS number, the commodity code, and the invoice for customs. Once you've registered for iOS, you will have your unique iOS number. You provide this to your carrier and they update their systems. All your shipments from there on are sent under the iOS scheme. You provide your commercial invoice as normal, and we'll touch on the commodity codes in the next few slides. Step three, as we mentioned, the import is exempt through customs, so no VAT is paid. Simple enough, it runs through quite smoothly. Step four, this is a key point here. The customer receives the goods without any additional charges. This part can't be understated, really. One of the most common things that we come across within Avalara when we're speaking to our clients is regarding rejected consignments. This is when customers order an item, and when the carrier delivers it to them, they're asked to pay additional import fees, which they were not aware of at the time of ordering. Often, they choose to reject the shipment and have it sent back to the retailer. This can lead to damaged goods, additional charges from the carrier, and most importantly, poor feedback from your customers and a lack of repeat purchases. The iOS scheme will help to remove these charges, giving your customer a transparent upfront cost. And finally, step five, report and remit the VAT in the following month's iOS return. So as we highlighted before, it's a simplified process, allowing you to file a single monthly return to cover all of your EU sales. Okay, the challenges of implementing iOS. So we've mentioned already the existing challenge of the increased number of VAT rates. You need to accurately display and charge local level VAT at the point of sale for each of the EU member states. This would mean that you, the retailer, need to maintain 27 different tax levels on your site for all of your items, as well as being aware of any reduced rates. This ties in quite nicely to, I say quite nicely, ties into the accurate pricing, because obviously the VAT rates you need to charge correctly to get the right price for the customer. Now, the bigger part, commodity codes, sometimes referred to as harmonized system codes or HS codes. These are not just a component of iOS. HS codes are used for worldwide shipping. HS codes dictate your duty rating, as well as alerting you to any import or export restrictions. The HS codes can tell you the duty and tax ratings you'll be charged for your goods, whether your product requires an import license, and whether there are any anti-dumping duties applying to that product. The HS codes can be up to 12 digits long and vary for each country. The first 6 digits are universal for all countries that observe the harmonized system, but for the final 4 or 6 digits are country specific. The EU can be treated as a single entity, so one product would have the same code for all 27 member states, but it would differ for every other country in the world. Avalara again can support you with determining HS codes for your products. Our item classification AI engine can provide HS codes for most countries based on descriptions of products. Once classified, the HS code is stored in the system, so it can be recalled whenever a product is purchased from your store. And the new challenge is, again, charging and displaying tax at the finalization. So as we mentioned, you need to calculate the final cost at the point of sale based on the customer's location. It's difficult to maintain and ensure the correct levels of tax are applied. You'd also need to be aware of any reduced rates for certain products. And again, the Tax engine, we can help you calculate that quickly and accurately, leaving you to get on with other things. So the benefits of iOS. Hold on, past one. Apologies, I've gone a slide too far. Always a technical problem. So the expansion to new or existing markets. So by registering for iOS, you essentially are future-proofing your international business. A single registration will cover you for all 27 member states and give you the ability to ship to any location. Should you receive a one-off order from a location you haven't shipped to before, it's no issue as you're covered. It also provides a better customer experience. So as we mentioned in the previous example, there are no surprise fees or charges for the customer, and it should reduce any abandoned purchases or returns. And it just gives the customer a transparent upfront price. And the green clearance through customs, shipments flow more efficiently, allowing the product to get to the customer more quickly, again, helping with the customer experience. There'll also be a reduction in the clearance or disbursement fees. So without needing the carrier to handle the payments on your behalf, you will not incur the admin fees which are normally associated with this. And also, again, reduced reporting requirements. One single monthly iOS return to a named member state. And finally, the ability to reclaim VAT on returned products. So if you are not registered for iOS, this would have to be written off as a loss. But with iOS, you can reclaim VAT on returned goods. Each country has a slightly different method on how these need to be reported, but you can report this much the same as a usual return of goods on your iOS returns. Okay. When we move through onto supporting documents, there is some interesting information here. We have some links to some resources to help you with iOS. If you have any follow-up questions after the webinar, we can ensure these are available for NextSmartShip so that you can access these. You can see listed here, we have 3 steps to iOS compliance and also iOS frequently asked questions and our blog, the great EU VAT reform. My contact details are available on the screen, and also my colleague James, and we'll be available for any questions if you need them. But I'll stop sharing now and I'll pass it over for a Q&A if anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, John, for joining us today. And yes, we have many viewers and who are interested in your topics. And let's see, one of the questions from Tony, and he asked, does having an inventory in the EU countries affecting the VAT calculation? And also along with the charging and the billing work? Could you please give us a more detailed explanation to that, please?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because the IOS is intended for products which are sent from outside of the EU into the EU. So it's classed as an import into the country. So we deal with it a lot here in the UK because we are based in the UK, we're no longer within the EU. The product is shipped from the UK to Europe. They can use the IOS registration. If you're holding the stock within the EU, obviously it's just classed as a domestic supply, so you don't need that. And they have something called just a one-stop shop. So you can actually register with a one-stop shop where you can use the same sort of process for a simplified return of those sales taxes, but just using the one-stop shop rather than the import.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And also we have Shirley here, and Shirley has a question, and she asked, like, in the same country, sometimes there's different tax exist. Does this happen often? And for example, she has some shipment shipped from China to Canada, and sometimes the customs charges 15% and sometimes it's 30%. Could you please give a bit more details and elaborate on this certain situation, please?
Sure. Obviously, tax and duties are driven by HS codes, as we mentioned. So these are internationally recognized product codes for the specific product, and they describe it. So when it arrives in customs, the customs agent don't physically look at the goods. They don't inspect it and decide what it is. They simply use the HS code. So if it's a different rate each time, it may be that different codes were used. But the original question of tax rates and things like that, there are reductions in tax rates. Certain products have tax and duty relief based on what they are and based on the destination. But again, it's driven by those HS codes. From an Avalara perspective, we have a solution whereby we can identify HS codes accurately for each country across the world. So we could support with that. But I would just say that, yes, it's driven by that. And if you get that part right, it feeds quite nicely into the next and makes it run much more smoothly.
Thank you so much for your answers. And we have Greg here, and he asked, do you have any similar services in Australia also?
Similar services in terms of the tax and duty calculation?
Yes.
Yes, the Avalara system, I say worldwide, it's not everywhere, but most of the world, we cover most of the countries. And again, we can provide tax and duty calculations for Australia. So if you are shipping products into Australia, it's not a problem with the solution there, so we can support that definitely.
Thank you so much. And we have one last question for you here from our live viewers. And so Rebecca asked if she sends the products in bulk to a fulfillment center and to distribute within, like, certain countries, and does she have to pay charge for VAT or custom taxes?
Yeah, it's a good question, because there are a lot of changes with regards to that following Brexit from a purely UK perspective there, but a lot of customers have been looking to hold stock within the EU to try and negate those charges and things like that and make it a lot easier to supply. From that perspective, you would just pay the duty and tax on the initial import to get the bulk into the country, and then it's within the EU, it's classed as a internal supply. I forget the terminology for it now, but there's an intra-community supply, sorry. So you just pass it out from your warehouse to the local destinations. And it is a very common thing that people do to hold stock within the EU to try and remove any of those additional fees.
Thank you so much, John, for your very informative speech and with a lot of details. Thank you so much for joining us today, John. Thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Okay, so just another reminder to our viewers, you can enjoy a 10% discount of our green packaging solutions throughout October. So please send the promo code green ecom, to our email address, sales@nextsmartship.com. Okay, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for all the expert speakers for today's conference. I'm sure viewers have learned so much about how e-commerce brands could thrive in this post-pandemic era. And hopefully you've picked up some useful tips along the way. E-commerce is not just an imagination for the future. It's happening right now, and it's going to be much faster and more robust in the near future. So we must be ready and prepare for it. I encourage you guys to come back to our Facebook or YouTube channel and watch this again once NextSmartShip has posted. And by the way, from October, NextSmartShip will be holding a green campaign for the Black Friday season. We are calling for our thousands of partners, NGOs, and government organizations to jointly initiate this campaign on green e-commerce, starting from this Black Friday season. So please follow us on Facebook and Instagram and keep an eye out for the further announcements. So this brings us to the end of our first ever virtual summit. So please take care, and we hope to see you again next year.